can I just say too? I think I realized why I'm most excited for this episode. So the other day I went. AJ wanted to get rid of some old systems, so like I went to the store. I found some retro stores. We went around trying to get the best price for the consoles and shit. And he's like, "Yo, you got a ton of consoles, right? Ton of games." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Would you ever think about selling them or getting rid of them?" Absolutely not. You're talking to the wrong guy. He's like, "You probably got some money." And then earlier I was thinking, I was like, "Damn!" I remember we had a conversation. I got some comics that are worth money. As I was coming home today, I was thinking, I was like, you know what I have that I know is worth money? Is you remember when Marvel did those hip hop variant covers?
Yeah, those are fucking dope.
Dope as fuck. I have a ton of them in boxes, like bagged and boarded, just like saved in probably like near mint condition. And so I call it. I'm like, yo, I got a ton of these. I know I do. I probably don't have all of them, but I know I got a ton of them. Look up how much they're worth. Thousands of dollars. And I think that's why I'm most excited for this episode. So I'm like, this is the two things that I love. It's comics and hip hop. That's it.
Would you actually sell them?
Absolutely not. I'll tell you what I'm doing after we record today. Running down the checklist, and I'm going to see which ones I have.
I think the two that I remember fondly, I think are the Spider-Man, the Iron Man ones. Were like fucking dope covers.
Well, I know one of Miles's was Nas, Illmatic.
Someone had the MLP cover, I believe. I can't remember.
Yeah, who. Iron Man had the Marshall Mathers LP.
Yeah.
And then, and then Nova had a couple. Nova had one of my favorites, which was Born Sinner. He also had Chance the Rapper. Why am I drawing a blank on the name of the album, though? What's Chance's second album? Not 10 Days.
10 Days is the first mixtape.
Yeah, second mixtape.
So then, Acid Rap.
Acid Rap, that's the one. It's Nova. It looks dope. I'm like, I want to go check to see which ones I have because they're awesome.
So if you're not one, I mean, me personally, I'm not that sentimental about stuff. I'd sell it. But if you're not, you better fucking frame them and hang them up. When you have the space, you have to have all.
When
I
have the space, I'm gonna have them all, like vinyls. Yeah, my thing is too. Dope. Now I'm like, I'm not gonna get rid of them. Do I go find the ones I'm missing and complete the collection?
That's money. You know what you got to do though? You got to get the comic and then get a vinyl of that.
You get the vinyl next to it,
right under it or right next to it. That would be dope.
Also, where am I gonna have the space? There's 151. Let me see. I just had it too. 100 and.
But you don't
146.
You don't have 146.
I know, but if I finish the collection, I can't get 146 and then also put the vinyls next to them. That's crazy.
When you say I got a lot of them, I don't think you have 130 to say I could just need a couple more to finish the collection. I don't think you should be finishing this collection. That's a lot. It's a fucking lot.
Listen, I'm determined. I'm gonna see. I gotta figure out what the number is. You know, if I got more than half,
that's still a lot. You're saying some of these, I'm sure some of them are going for a lot more than others based on the character, based on the.
You know what? But here's the thing: if I already have the ones that are rare, then maybe it's not a ton of money. You know?
Yeah,
it really depends on which ones I have already.
Rare. But I'm still saying that's a lot of dough. Either way,
no, it is absolutely. Especially then if I go buy the vinyls. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Also, probably some of them don't even have vinyls. There's probably not even vinyl versions of all of those albums. Because even like Born Sinner just got a released vinyl last year, and I ordered that because that's one of my favorite albums. So I had to have that on vinyl. And I could have sworn
but
Mandela effect, it never existed up until like last year. Because I swore it existed when I first got a record player.
Honestly, and I was like, I thought it did too.
I swore I saw it in the store, but then when I got a record player and I'm like, all right, let me go buy this album. What album? That's not on vinyl. Like they played in my face.
Fucking, because as I'm thinking about, I'm going through like my vinyl collection as you're saying shit. and I'm thinking about my boy Gambino. You see that motherfucker back on tour? He all over my TikTok feed. He back on tour.
Bro,
Oh
a world
my
like
God.
a whole tour. I want to buy tickets.
No diddler. I would suck somebody's dick for them tickets.
First of all, let's not even get into it. Let's not even get into it because Diddy. I don't know if you saw the video they just released.
The crazy part is,
what's the crazy part? What's the crazy part?
Nah, what I was about to say was I kind of love the phrase "no Diddy" now. And I think I do love it for many of reasons because, you know, like, say if you're about to say some shit like, I'd suck the skin off your dick, no homo. No homo is only for gay shit. No Diddy applies for a lot. Like, it's a very...
Yeah, no, it's everything.
Range,
it's everything.
Like, that's no pedo, no homo, no crazy
no
shit.
Diddy.
That's all in one, no Diddy. Like, no matter what I say, I can follow no Diddy, and you're like, you're right, he did that.
So he posted a video today, and I didn't even bother watching it. The media got their hands on a video of camera footage from a hotel, and this is being used in the court case. He beat
Meek Mill's cheeks.
No.
They found video to go along with the audio.
No. Hold on, let me see this fucking... if I can even find it. So, yeah, it was in 2016. It was went back when he was with Cassie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a video of her leaving from the hotel room. He comes running down the hall in a towel and, like, throws her down and starts kicking her and everything. Crazy shit. Beating her ass. Bro, you saw, like, you remember the Solange and Jay video in the elevator? Yeah. This shit is crazy. This shit has gotten... It's insane. And I guess he just posted an apology video. Oh, I'm sorry. You were sorry. You wouldn't have done it. Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? You're sorry now because the media put it out.
Yeah, he's going to apologize as things start having video evidence for them.
100%. 100%.
As soon as the video comes out, can't deny that one.
Yeah. Like, oh, shit, I'm sorry. You're sorry we saw it. That's not... You ain't sorry you did it. You ain't sorry you did it. No Diddy Diddler. That's...
All right. But we ain't here to talk about the diddler. Everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Beer and Skittles podcast. This started out related to what we're talking about. It's still kind of, I guess. But we got an episode full of X-Men and hip-hop. Crazy shit going on both sides with X-Men 97 finishing up about last week by the time this comes out. And the beef we think is over. Pretty sure it's over. We got a lot of comments about that. Everybody knows what it is. It's Drake. It's Kendrick. It's some nutty shit. But we're going to start off talking about X-Men 97. God damn. I just want to also start off with this. We already talked about this stuff in an episode. We talked about this last episode. We had some technical difficulties. Episode got completely lost. But honestly, it was mid-beef. It was mid-97. Like, yeah. There's so much more to say now. So we might seem repetitive to ourselves, but we're going to give you the best that we can on these topics, especially because things have only gotten crazier from the things that you never heard. X-Men 97, dude. I mean, especially you remember the OG show better than I do. So what's your thoughts on 97 following that up long after?
I think that this is one of the best revivals we've seen of a show, and not just Marvel. Anytime a studio has decided, yeah, we're going to bring a show back, you know, they've done it with a lot of sitcoms as of late, but it stays true to the original show. It stays true to what we know of these from that original show versus any other iteration of them. A lot of the voice actors are also back for this, and not only is it a good fucking sequel, it might be better. The writing is so fucking good.
Well, I think what this show does right, and I'll tackle two of the things you just said. One, it's not like a spin-off. A lot of times when you revive a show, especially because, you know, a lot of these shows you're talking about aren't animation. You can't just pick up where you left off. People age. People are older.
Correct.
Things are different. So this isn't like Corey's House. This ain't Girl Meets World. This ain't Fuller House. Like all these sitcoms that you're saying.
Or even, that 90s show, which is still great. But
I actually really like that 90s show. It's very fun.
But it's different. It has to be because, you said, they're older.
So that it's a spin-off. this is a complete continuation, which I can't really name another show that we've seen do this. Like pick up because X-Men. I mean, this is X-Men '97, but I think the show originally aired in like '92 was when it started. And obviously there's a couple seasons, so it goes a little after that. Might end 95, 96, and this is why it's 97. But like, dude, 3 decades later from the inception of this show, we are getting a just here's where we left off. We're gonna keep going. Like that is a nutty like thing that we've never seen before. So I think that is insane, and I think the best thing that they could have done for it is make the show adult, because your core audience now, obviously, again, I wasn't even born when the show came out, and there's a lot of people look watching the show, and I think what's great is that you can enjoy it without seeing the original. I mean, I remember the original, but vaguely, because I watched like reruns of it as like a kid, spotty, you know, stuff like that. But I think what's so great about it is that they made it more adult because they realized their core audience watched this as children. So how old are they now? They're at least 30. Like, you have to make it so that they can watch it and enjoy it and be like, holy shit, like this ages with me. That's what makes it so great.
Yeah, I think what has also happened with this show, and you're going to kind of get that when we kind of go into these episodes and break them down, it's way more adult. In the sense that X-Men, the animated series, it aired on TV on Saturday morning cartoons. It was meant for kids. Not that this show isn't, but I think television has evolved, comics have evolved. The stories we can tell are different, right? And we can expect people to handle, even though it's animated, more with more depth, and that is darker.
And I think it's also tastefully done as well, because it's not like, oh, people are grown up, let's drop F-bombs everywhere.
No, and that's not what it is either.
Let's do all this. Like, they just made it so that the adult consumer can enjoy it more. You can watch it without feel like you're watching a kid's show. Like, that's really what it comes down to.
And I think what's also cool is that because this show now, it's been decades, like you said, since it came out, we've had decades of X-Men stories being told, right? So now what we can pull from, because again, even though these episodes, it's original, right? They're still adapting storylines, and they're pulling from all of these different sources. And I want to talk about some of the cool things that they pulled from for it. But that's because there's now decades more of content from them to pull from, not just the stuff that they had in the 90s. There's even more shit now, especially with, I don't actually think anybody really has anything bad to say about it, but like the Krakoan era, which is now ending in the comics, has been one of the greatest things for the X-Men. And I saw that.
It was a cool inception. I liked it at the beginning. I think it ran a little too long. I think they probably could have cut it a year shorter, but that's just me.
But Hickman also is, you look at somebody like Jonathan Hickman understands the X-Men fundamentally. You know what I mean? He's a fantastic writer. Say what you will about the all the other stories that came out, but like Powers of X and House of X, when they came out, incredible, absolutely incredible writing. Bo DeMeo, who was the head of the show, he was the showrunner before they split ways with him, totally understands these characters, and he did an amazing job with this story. I know X-Men did get renewed already for season 2.
Yep.
Even though Marvel has split ways with him, he already had finished writing season 2. They will be honoring his vision and using his story for season 2. And they're looking for a new showrunner for post season 2 for season 3. Yeah. Marvel totally is all in on this, and rightfully so. The show is like a 10 out of 10. And the ratings are insane.
Yeah. And I think the other cool thing about this, and when we say about maturing with TV, when you look back at those old 90s cartoons, they're pretty campy. Like, things that were made for kids in the 90s is different than what was made for the kids in the 2000s, the 2010s, and 2020s now. Like, things just get more adult. I think that people have more trust in kids to understand deeper and darker themes, more adult content, you know, like things have evolved. Things are easier to talk about amongst the youth. They just kind of get smarter in the way that they catch on to things. or at least people want to admit that they did catch on to things rather than in the 90s like, oh, that's my child, that's a baby.
Yep.
So I think it's a little like TV is evolved. Like if you just even want to go through the short span from Avatar to Korra, like Korra was more adult than Avatar. I'm not saying that Avatar was like a baby show. It had
but even
Avatar,
like Avatar had done things that animation hadn't before either.
They stepped up, and then Korra took it even further, and that was a much shorter span of time for this. So it's also like now the show is at a point where kids can enjoy it because kids enjoy that kind of content now because they're exposed to much more deeper and darker themes, and they can analyze it and realize what's happening. And adults like it because it's pretty much made for adults. So I think that's the coolest thing about it, and how the it really shows the evolution of television, especially in the animated front, and what they're doing.
And and speaking of animation, right? And there are a few moments that I will pinpoint when we get to those episodes. Not only is the story fucking great and the dialogue is fantastic, the animation on this show is on another fucking level.
Oh, it's amazing.
And it's funny because everybody has been saying, like, Invincible, you have 24 hours to respond. To the level of animation that this show has. And it's insane.
Well, I think it's cool. I think this is going to start something revolutionary. I think when you look back and say like something is going to be revolutionary, the same way that I see Spider-Verse as being revolutionary.
Yeah.
Art style changed in animation forever the day Spider-Verse came out because it was such a dope concept and everybody loved it. Now, I mean, you have like Ninja Turtles going into it, Puss in Boots went into it. There's a bunch of different ones, and I think I've talked about this on different episodes.
And they're good.
They're good, but sometimes you have to pick and choose whether it fits. But bringing in the nostalgic old style of animation, dark, clean lines, just very pure, almost looks drawn on the page type of detail and work that you're doing that the old cartoons have, but crisping it up and using the new technology to be able to do crazy things. Like,
it's a lot
amazing.
sharper.
And I think just that is going to be revolutionary, and you're going to see other people wanting to take that risk because it won't be as much of one. Like, you don't have to have, because it's not the best animation out there. Like, there isn't like these crazy features in it. No, but I'm saying, in the technical aspect of animation, like, we don't have these people looking crazy 3D realistic, because at some points it was starting to go there where people were like, people want things that look more real. No, we don't want things that look more real. If we want to watch something that looks so real, I'm going to pick up a live action.
Right.
But when you go back to that throwback and that nostalgia, and it looks drawn on the page, but it moves so much smoother and cleaner and sharper, it's just beautiful. So I think it's cool the way that they're doing it in that light.
I think also it's funny to point out too that when like the still images and like the first trailer got released for X-Men 97, people were shitting on it. They were like, oh, this is gonna be trash. Why are they trying to bring back my childhood? Ain't nobody asked for it. And the animation style isn't 100% the same as the original series. So a lot of people are like, oh, fuck that, I don't want to watch it, blah, blah, blah. And now look at everybody riding X-Men 97 like a horse. Yeah.
Like a dick,
like
no
a
ditty.
Horse. So let's just start with episode 1, right? And this show ramps up, and it gets crazier and crazier as it goes on. But it's like a bullet train. It never stops. So the first episode, to me, my X-Men, we kind of just get back into it with Cyclops and the whole team, Jean, Storm, everybody. We kind of brought back into them. We also meet Roberto in that first episode.
Yeah, it's a very mundane start. It's very slow burn at first.
And at the very end of that episode, so we get most of the cast back, Jubilee, all of them. We meet Roberto, which I think, as we talk about it, Roberto is a great addition to the show. We get Magneto at the very end of that when they go in and he's got the will.
If you guys haven't seen this from here on out, spoiler heavy. Spoiler heavy. So I don't know. Keep skipping around till you hear us talk about Diddy a lot. I don't know.
There's not going to be a single moment. This is going to be, I'm talking about the show. Like, go watch it.
Yeah, no,
go watch the fucking show.
Either watch it, come back, listen to the rest of this episode, or jump ahead because we'll have other topics later. But yeah, spoiler heavy.
So that very first episode ends with Magneto, which is, somebody pointed out to me, and I think it's a great comparison. Magneto showing up at the end with him basically having Charles's will and taking over the school is Barbossa showing up at the end of Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest. It's the villain coming back but working with the good guys. And it's just a hell of a moment. I don't really have a ton else to say about that first one, because episode 2 I think is where it really fucking, because it was a 2-episode premiere when it first dropped, and then it was weekly.
I think it was smart to do that, because again, that first episode just slow burn, and then you get that cliffhanger, which piques your interest a bit. But if you're waiting a week on it, it kind of dies the hype. It could, especially when you're dealing with a slow burn show like that. Because then some people are like, I'm not watching the second episode. I didn't really like the first one that much. But when the second episode's right in front of your face,
you just watch it.
Yeah, I'm just watching it.
Episode 2 is the Purifiers and the UN meeting that they have, and Magneto now leading the X-Men. Everybody has a problem with it. Magneto's a terrorist and whatever. The Purifiers show up to this UN meeting. It's all about Genosha. That's like what this meeting is. Genosha's trying to become a nation and a part of the UN. And so Magneto's there. All the X-Men are there. The Purifiers show up, and in one of the saddest moment, it's not even the saddest moment in the series, but in a moment that in that episode was like shocking and also sad, was Purifier goes to shoot Magneto with Sentinel technology that will make him lose his abilities. He would lose his powers. And Storm jumps in the way and takes that shot for him, which for one is a huge moment because Storm is embracing that Magneto was working with them, right?
Yeah. And let me add into here, earlier in that episode, what we're getting a lot of is the development of Magneto. Because beforehand, the OG series, he's the bad guy. But if you know your comic history, Magneto isn't a terrible guy. He's done some terrible things in honor of what his cause is, but his cause isn't any different than Xavier's.
And I have to say, and as we go on, like there's a lot. Magneto has a lot of fucking his arc in this whole series.
Oh, it's amazing.
Is amazing. He's one of the best written villains. I've come to the conclusion. He might not, in the sense that Magneto's not. You can't disagree with.
You can't disagree
why he's doing it. It's what he's doing.
His methods.
Yeah, his method is the problem, but what he stands for is not the issue.
Yeah,
and it makes it hard. That's what makes Magneto such a hard villain to kind of pin down.
It's also sometimes hard to go against the method as well, because in a real life situation, if you were like, "Hey, we are being, prosecuted against, like we are being terrorized as a group of people, we should act and sue violence because that are what they're doing to us," you'd 100%.
That sounds crazy. It sounds crazy.
You would be like, no, 100%. Yeah, I'm gonna retaliate because my people are being fucked on right now. Like it's easy to see from the lens because we're a comic book, like, oh, he's the bad guy to say. But even in his methods, you're like, maybe it's not the best when you're talking about like, oh, peace and stuff like that. But it's very much real. Like you can't say like he's totally mad for thinking that way.
Yeah, no, he's not Doctor Doom where he just wants to rule the world or whatever. You know what I mean? And he's not evil because he wants to be evil either. He's not the Joker. He's not insane. He's kind of like he's a reasonable man, kind of like.
Yeah, I mean when you really think about it,
I think what it is you also have to realize is Magneto's history, which is important. Is that he's a Holocaust survivor.
Yeah.
He's already seen how humanity treats each other. Then being a mutant on top of that, he gets persecuted even more. Well, Magneto just has zero faith in humanity. He doesn't care.
Because I think what is interesting, because anytime you hear about the X, like the big thing with the X-Men is media. There's always media coverage in X-Men show, X-Men comics. It is the media presenting a case on mutants. It's everywhere. Every show you watch, every comic book you'll read, there's always media talking about mutants. The media is humans, people, the people that he's against. So of course he's painted like a terrorist because I guess, he is, but they're also terrorizing him, which you're not going to hear from their side. And if he didn't have a foil like Charles Xavier, you probably wouldn't have the perspective of him being so evil as you do. But because there's a group of X-Men that go against him, he is the bad guy because they want a peaceful measure to do the same thing.
He does, and you know what's great is a lot of people will be like, well, in these first few episodes, Charles isn't there. Well, he doesn't have a foil then. Scott does a really good job of being that foil.
Yeah, 100%. But what I was trying to get to beforehand, which we got a little off track with it, what I love about in that episode is that they build what it is with Magneto that makes him so great, and the fact that we're saying about that he's not that evil, because at the end of the day, him and Charles, no matter how long they haven't spoken, no matter how long they've been going at each other's necks, they are best friends.
Yeah.
In entirety, they are best friends. It doesn't matter how much they've literally tried to kill each other. They are best friends. And when his friend, and on his dying wishes in his will, said that I need you to run the school the way that I did to progress mutant kind, he said, I will put down everything I'm doing, put aside all my values, and do this for you. And that's what that episode is building for.
And there's a great moment at the end. So Storm takes the bullet for him. And she falls off the stage and she starts crawling away and she tries to call for the wind and she can't. Right? And she goes, I can't feel the breeze. Magneto has one of his best moments in the show. It's hard to pick my favorite, but he has a moment where he's like, never again. Which is like just, it's the base and everything in him, never again. And he lifts up the entire fucking UN and the purifier that shot Storm, and he brings them all the way to space, and he gives them this speech of, like you said, of Charles asked me, he left me the school and he asked me to do this, and this view is why I'm going to do it, because now they're looking down on Earth and how small everything is and how small our problems are. Don't make me let you down, is what he then tells the UN, which is insane, because it's like, I hold you in the palm of my fucking hand. Don't make me have to let you down, because I'll drop you. You guys will die. Like, that's it. I'm above you.
Which I think it's a tie-in to it. I think it's the next episode or 2 episodes later, when he makes that speech. Basically, what he says in that moment, as you just covered, is, I could literally kill you right now if that was my intention. If I'm the bad guy, you'd be dead.
Yes.
So I'm
exactly.
Not,
no, that's exactly it.
Here. And I'm showing you that I have the ability to do that.
I'm trying to be better, yes.
Yeah.
And if you allow me to, I can be. Don't make me your villain.
And what I think is a full circle moment, we might have to come back to this depending, because I'm not a little fuzzy on the order of the episodes, but when Scott has a similar moment.
It's episode 5, and that's, yeah, okay. So we're getting there. Yeah, and Scott does.
Scott has a similar moment, and it's full circle, because the moment that Magneto walks in, Scott is the one opposing him.
Correct.
So it's almost like, I really see what you're doing now. Like, it's a full circle moment for Scott to be like, he kind of is making sense.
And that's what I love. Scott is such a great character, especially in the comics today. Scott is this middle ground between Charles and Eric. Oh, he's not. He grew up and he loves Charles, right? Charles raised him, but at one point in the comics, Scott killed Charles. He went full Magneto mode. So he's not just a Boy Scout. He's not Captain America. He also has been pushed to his limit.
Well, when you're constantly getting cucked by Wolverine, I would lose. I would go over the limit too.
We're not even going to get into the whole love pentagram that is the. With that said, episode 2 does end with the reveal of Jean walking to the door. She knocks and she says Scott, and then she passes out. But Jean is in the X-Mansion with them. Right? Episode 3, Mr. Sinister comes back, and we get our Madeline Pryor episode. Also, they had a baby.
Yeah.
That's what happens at the end of episode 2. They have a baby.
Scott and Jean have a baby, but is it Nathan? Jean? Fucking like...
It is not. It is Madeline fucking Pryor, who is a clone of Jean Grey, created by Mr. Sinister. The baby gets infected with the techno-organic virus by Sinister. Bishop takes the baby to the future to try and find a cure to save baby Nathan. Madeline Pryor goes full fucking crazy mode, becomes the Goblin Queen, magic and fucking just nuts. The animation is insane. They fight her. They end up breaking Sinister's hold on her. Jean is back, and we have to deal with this whole clone mess. And that's episode 3 in a nutshell. I think the animation is also fantastic. Madeline Pryor fighting the X-Men in Magneto is just too good. Episode 4 kind of takes a break from all of that stuff that's going on. It's the Motendo episode with Jubilee, which is a really fun episode. It does something with Jubilee that we really haven't seen ever, or at least in a really long time, as they aged her. They kind of made her not just a teenager, a young adult. Mojo is the villain at least for the first half. This episode actually has 2 halves. So we see her, she's inside the video game with Roberto, and they're fighting Mojo. It's also basically a callback to the old X-Men video game, is what this whole episode is, which is really cool. Fun little cameo thing. The second half of the episode is life and death, which is Storm having left the X-Men now that she doesn't have her powers, and she meets Forge. And basically what happens at the end of that episode is that they meet the adversary.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so Storm is running around with Forge. We learn a little bit about him and his history and his background, and learn that he actually had built some of the tech that he helped build some of the tech that suppresses mutants' powers and stuff like that when he was working for the government. Really good episode. It's all centered around Storm. Everything kind of ramps up now for episode 5.
It's when shit gets insane. Which also, props real quick, that's like the only kind of filler episode they have.
But even though it's not.
Well, it's just, kind of, especially with the first half with Jubilee,
The first, I would say the first half is.
Storm is like the side story in this, especially until she rejoins. So basically, they're telling part of a side story for like the last 10 minutes of the episode. The first like 20 of that episode is like kind of filler. It was a fun filler. It was cool to watch. The episode went by so fucking fast.
Well, can I also say the episode length? The episodes are like 30 minutes, right? Each.
I believe all of them except for the finale. I think might have hit a 40.
But even still, it felt, even the 30-minute episodes felt longer.
Yeah. No, it was very well paced. Everything was very
cinematic. I was like, I'm sitting there like I'm watching a movie. I was like, damn, are you sure I got 10 minutes left? I could have sworn I had 3 hours left the way this shit's playing out.
Yeah, but the reason I because so you get into like obviously this is anime, but you get in the realm of anime, there's a lot of shows that do heavy filler. People don't like it, some people like it, whatever. You come into American television, they don't really like to do any filler. They're kind of just like straight hitting you plot. Which is fine, but I think just the one filler episode was really nice. Like gives you a break from all you're doing, kind of builds a little more suspense. Like, show us what happened. What happened? Like, give us a break on that front. Like, I think the filler episode was nice. It was well timed. Like, it was a fun episode to watch, but it's not like I'm watching 5 filler episodes in a 15 episode season. Like,
no, and it was nice to see. It's a cool little callback to the old X-Men game, and it's cool to see Jubilee.
Yeah.
I think
it was
do something different.
Yeah, it was well placed. It was well done, because like if a lot of people do filler and like, this sucks, but then like if you're hammering story the entire time, it's like it's great. But sometimes it is nice to get a break from it and kind of build the suspense within your audience. Like, well, what happened the episode before? Give me the result of that shit. Like we just had a love triangle between 2 people that are the same person. What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah.
I think, like you said, episode 5 is when shit really, and I have to say, I love and appreciate that this is weekly, because after episode 5, I needed a fucking break. And I think what it is that, and we didn't talk about this, but what this show does that the original did as well, is it ends on a cliffhanger. Each episode is a cliffhanger. Mm-hmm. And that's to get you to watch the next episode next week. It's to get you to come back next week. It's one of the things that I miss about TV, is that it got you excited for the next one. What happens with streaming now is just, it's not getting excited for that. It's just getting you excited just to hit play because it's right there. But if you don't get to sit with it, it becomes kind of just muddled into one. It's just one episode, one very, very long episode, instead of a breakdown of, episode 5 brings us to Genosha, and most of the X-Men are there, minus Storm is not. Well, actually, it's easier to just go with who's there. Rogue, Gambit, and Magneto go to Genosha.
Everybody else stayed back.
I know Scott Wolverine and Jean were there. Jean did. Madeline's there.
Madeline went with them.
Madeline is already there. But Hank, Logan, Jean, Scott are all back home.
Yeah.
And Jubilee and Roberto. And then Storm is off with Forge.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So,
but then we also do get the introduction of a now main character of the show.
I love him so much.
Nightcrawler, one of my favorite fucking X-Men, and how dope did he look?
He was so happy. I fucking loved him. I loved him so much in this show.
I love the design for Nightcrawler because Nightcrawler's supposed to look like a demon. Like that's what he looks like. He's a blue demon. I love that it's the shadowing and shading that they have on him to where he almost looks black with tinges of blue throughout, and they don't give him like kind of light on his face. They don't really show features with lines and stuff like that. Like he's very dark and centered, which I think is nice, and instead of giving him like a pure blue look. I think this really like does so much to his character by making him almost black with blue shading on top of him instead of making him a blue character. It looked fantastic.
He looks awesome. His teleporting is incredible, and we get to see him in full action later on in the season, and it just the animation on him teleporting, insane. Yeah. It looks so good.
I think it's called fight choreography because it's just animation, but
no, it is. It's still fight choreography.
So the fight choreography for this is fantastic. We get a hint of that, I believe, in the first episode with Scott when he's.
We didn't talk about
because the interesting thing, which we're gonna get into this episode, I'm gonna tell you why my opinion changed a little bit. I hate Scott. I hate that motherfucker.
I don't agree. I love Scott so much.
I think he's so Diddy. Like
no, and don't call him Diddy. Don't do that. He is such an awesome character for so many reasons. His arc in the comics, he's evolved so much.
Yeah,
I just love Scott.
I just think he's a bitch. But
they've made him a badass in this show.
They've done very well. Like to me, like he was always like kind of a pushover. He was always kind of sucking someone's dick. Like he was always doing too much. Like he was at various points he's the Boy Scout leader, and like I don't buy it from him, especially because he has like people opposing him within his chain of command all the time. Like I think I didn't like Scott for a plethora of reasons, and I still didn't like him going into the show, but I appreciated his character. Like they did a good job of representing the asshole that I didn't like. Also, Scott can be a dick a lot.
But not like the same way that like Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, he's not like Mr. Fantastic or like fucking comic books Iron Man or a lot of those smart people.
Or Hank.
Hank,
right?
Yeah, Hank. He's a dick.
He's a dick.
If anybody that isn't Spider-Man that's intelligent is an asshole.
An asshole.
Every single one of them. Unless you're Spider-Man and you have some kind of brain cells, you're an asshole. Or if you lead a team and you're not Captain America, you're probably also an asshole.
Scott's not an asshole.
He's kind of that's not the point though. I don't like him. I will say that they did a good job of representing the character that I know that I don't like. And his fight choreography was fucking amazing. What they did showing his powers is something that we've never seen before. And it becomes an understanding of what his powers are. He doesn't have
I think that's what it is. It's been misunderstood and misinterpreted in media for so long.
People think he has heat vision like Superman or something.
No.
His whole family background, like their whole thing is that they open portals. The portals just happen to be to a dimension that's pure energy. And those portals lie in his eyes.
For him.
For him. His portals lie in his eyes. And because of the brain damage that he had, he can't control the opening and closing of the portals.
Yeah.
Because as a kid, he got into an accident. There's brain damage. So he can't. So anytime him opening and closing a portal is just him opening and closing his eyes.
And his visor and his sunglasses are like a quartz that allow him.
Yeah, it's almost like I guess reflective to kind of go back into. It's like a weird thing. I don't know exactly the science of that. Yeah, so he can't control it except for opening and closing his eyes. But so it's a portal to a different dimension that's like pure energy. So like there's his power set's so much more diverse than what we've been shown in the past with just basic heat vision optic blast, which is also
it's a concussive blast. It's basically like getting punched with energy. It's a punch in the face, and they show it off. Like we didn't mention it. That is something in the first episode. Is like he uses it to like hit a wall to push himself back.
Because there's like force that comes out.
Correct.
With it. Yeah. So like it's very cool. It's almost like the kickback of a gun, but he has control of it.
Right.
Like you shoot a pistol, your hand's gonna move. So he uses that ability of that. There's so much force coming out of his eyes with this energy that he uses it to transfer his own momentum to different places, which is it's insane.
Well,
it's
even a cool thing too is like they all jump out, like they're all falling in that one episode. He and like Wolverine can't fly, right? So like Morph transforms into I think Angel to grab him or whatever, and Storm can fly. Scott uses his fucking blast, his optic blast, to break his own fall. And then fucking land. Super badass. Like everybody else kind of landing peacefully. They fly and shit. He makes an entrance. So we meet Nightcrawler. We're on Genosha.
Yeah, he's dope. Love him.
There's a lot to unpack in this episode. And again, it's 36 minutes. There's so much to unpack in episode 5. Genosha has officially been given... It's a nation. It is now a country, and the UN fully recognizes it. They have a council, which is essentially the Hellfire Club. It's Emma and Shaw and Madeline Pryor. They choose to elect Magneto as the leader of Genosha, as their president, their face. It's still going to be a council-run thing.
This is already established. Magneto and Rogue be fucking.
Well, they used to. Back in the day, they used to. And that's when... And we get that background in this episode of when she first was with Magneto and Mystique. And one of the things that actually I love that they reference is when Rogue had run away when she was a kid, she ended up meeting up with Mystique and was running around with Mystique for a while. And Nightcrawler is Mystique's son. They look at each other as brother and sister because they had these fundamental years together. And Nightcrawler references a lot of it, throughout their interactions of them being like brother and sister.
They constantly are calling each other brother, sister. And I think at some point, fucking Rogue's, I guess you got the shitty end of like the adopted sister category or something like that. Within that range. Again, I'm not good with quotes.
I think what we can also appreciate is Nightcrawler as a character being who he is, this demon. He looks like a demon anyway. And he's so happy. And not only does he look like a demon, he's deeply religious. And he's so happy. I just loved his character in this show. They elect Magneto. Magneto says he'll do it as long as he can have somebody by his side, and he wants one of the X-Men to rule with him. Because he doesn't think that his face for the world, considering who he is probably not a good sell. He chooses Rogue. Rogue wants to be with him because she can touch him, kind of, due to his electromagnetic abilities. They don't actually touch, but it's the closest thing she can get. She doesn't have that with Gambit. And so she breaks the news to him. And I think it's handled so well. He takes it with grace, and he tells her, like, we'll just be friends. And that's it. While this is happening, we have what's happening at home. Scott and them are doing an interview with this news lady. And Scott goes on a fucking tirade, which you mentioned earlier, where he shits on everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna say right here again. That's why I had to reiterate that I didn't like Scott, because this is a moment that made me like him. Made me like him a little bit more. So he's getting interviewed in the media while they're all over on Genosha, and they're basically accusing them of being the bad guys. Like, you guys are with Magneto now. You guys are bad. You guys are evil.
And it all starts because she tells him, like, hey, you and Jean had a baby? And he says no. Well, there's hospital records. You guys had a baby. and he gets caught in this lie. She's like, well, why did you lie?
Yeah. So they're doing a gotcha media kind of press in this, and so they're trying to paint him like a bad guy. And again, this is where I think it's a full circle moment for Scott, the guy that's like, fuck Magneto this entire time, starts going in, kind of making the same speech that he made at the UN, being like, if I was the bad guy, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
Like, you realize I have the ability to kill every single one of you in this room, and I'm not fucking doing it. He's like, you guys want to trust us? The only reason that you should trust me is because you're still alive.
Yeah, like, it's the moment of I lie because I have to, because you look at us like we're not people, and I have to prove that I'm a person to you. And you know what? We're not like you, and thank God we're not, because you'd be dead if we weren't. Like, how many times have I saved the fucking world, and I don't even get a thank you? Instead, I have to prove that I'm a person to you. Go fuck yourself. And he walks off, and it's fucking great. It's such a fucking powerful moment. Fast now, we get back to Genosha, and
wait, real quick. Because of that episode, also another person I don't like, Jean fucking Grey. She is such a whore.
That's right.
Fucking in this episode.
That's right. I forgot.
Jean starts hooking up with Wolverine at some point, and then comes back to Scott.
She gets mad
at Scott, which again, Scott at this point is in my good graces. In this moment, he's in my good graces. I was like, he killed that shit. Fucking, she has the nerve to be like, you love Madeline?
Well, yeah, because she's
clone.
She just made out with Logan, and then goes back and is trying to get it on with Scott, and sees in his head that he's still thinking of Madeline, and like was talking to Madeline like telepathically. And she's like, what the fuck? What are you doing? And it's like, but that, like, it's your clone, and he didn't know it was a clone. Like, as far as everyone knew, it was you. Like that's not his fault.
You loved her? He's like, yeah, I thought it was you. She is exactly like you in every single way. And she storms out. I'm like, this bitch. I like Scott.
But says nothing about the fact that she just kissed Logan.
Yeah, and I also don't think they ever refer back to it at any point.
No.
Fucking, oh my God, I hated her so much more in that interaction, and liked him even more because of that. I'm like, I feel for you, my boy.
Yeah.
Fuck her.
Yeah.
Don't listen to that. You don't deserve that.
God, there's so much happening in this one episode. There's so much happening. So now we're back at the gala, and Remy is there, and he looks fucking awesome. Looks awesome with his scarf and everything. And Magneto's there, and the UN representative, she shows up, and she's like, really? You're gonna make Magneto your leader? She's like, most countries don't elect a terrorist to represent them. And Magneto, with just quip after quip in this show, hits back rapid fire. Yet most countries allow terrorists to lead them. Or most countries allow their leaders to be terrorists, which is just fucking great. And then Rogue comes out in this red dress.
Also, in this moment, yeah, she looked great, phenomenal. Fuck her too. I didn't like the women in this episode. No Diddy. I'm sure there's misogyny somewhere in that with him. Yeah, he just beat a girl. Yeah, no Diddy. Fucking, she breaks up with Gambit for Magneto.
I know.
After Gambit treated her so well.
Because then she can touch him.
And then we're about to get into some shit. And then she wants to play role reversal on this. I'm like, stop it. So during this gala, there is a Sentinel attack.
Well, let's not talk about one of the best moments though. Right before the attack, it's with Madeline. Cable shows up. And
was that right before, or was it like right kinda,
because that's when
I thought it was kind of during.
It's right. Cable being pulled away back into the time stream is when the first beam hits.
Gotcha.
So yeah, Madeline hears his voice. She goes outside, and it's Cable, and she's like, "Cable," because they've teamed up with Cable back in the original series. And he says, "I'm too late. You got to get everybody out. I can't stay. I can't stop it. I'm sorry, Mom." Which establishes what, if you've read the comics, you already know that Cable is the son of Scott and Madeline. That was baby Nathan that got sent to the future with Bishop. What a great moment. As then the fucking beam hits, this green fucking beam, and just totally decimates the building they're in for the gala. And then the next thing we know, everybody's everywhere. They're scrambling. Magneto asks Gambit how many. Have we lost? How many are gone? He's like, too many. There's too many. Yeah. Nightcrawler's injured. They want to go then save the Morlocks, who are pinned down by Sentinels. And Magneto has already told the Morlocks that he would protect them. And the Morlocks don't believe that the X-Men love them anyway. So Magneto they go to try and save the Morlocks. It's a jaw-dropping thing to see, even in animation, all of this destruction.
Yeah.
Because it was such a happy moment.
And Magneto is going off in this shit. This motherfucker threw a train. Like
he beat that Sentinel's ass with a train.
He beat the shit out of him. I can't remember the moment. I think something happens which kind of like distracts him or takes him off, and we believe he's dead.
Well, so what ends up happening is that they save the Morlocks. Gambit shows up. He pulls the Morlocks out. Magneto then has the Morlocks. The Sentinels attacking them, and Magneto pulls up a magnetic dome around them as it's going after Magneto specifically. He's an Omega level threat. Rogue is then trying to get to Eric to save him, and Magneto puts all of this metal around her and Gambit to hold them in place and to stop her and stop them from getting to him. And he realizes he can't hold this shield up, and he says to Leech in German, "Don't be afraid." And then the fucking shield explodes. The Sentinel got him. Magneto's dead, right? Rogue fucking loses it, goes to go after the Sentinel. Gambit stops her and goes after himself, and has one of the best moments in the series.
The best. The best. This motherfucker rides in on a motorcycle, jumps off, throwing explosions at the Sentinel left and right. He is beating this thing's ass.
Until he impales him.
But the most badass thing he could do, because he might have been able to survive that impale. We don't know. But if you know anything about Gambit, anything that he touches, he can transfer that kinetic energy into energy that he uses to make it explode. This motherfucker, I forget, you're the line guy. What's the line?
The name's Gambit, mon ami. Remember it. And then, because it was impaled in him, he lights up the entire fucking Sentinel and blows the motherfucker up. Gone. And stops the entire attack, but at the cost of his own life.
Yeah, because he's not surviving that. It exploded inside of him.
Yeah, and what then is the most heartbreaking moment in the series for me is then we then see Rogue holding his body with no gloves on, and she's like, "I can't feel you, sugar." And it's just, and it broke me. I fucking was like crying watching this episode because, first of all, they killed fucking Gambit, and then Rogue hits us with it's the like, "I love you 3000." It's that moment from Endgame. That I'm just like, I can't do this.
But also, that two-faced bitch, as soon as he died, she wants to go back. Fuck her. That's what I'm talking about.
Leave him alone. All right, listen. That's episode 5.
She just broke up with him earlier in the episode. Anyway.
And he died.
Yeah, and then he died.
Anyways.
Oh, I lonely loved you. Shut up. That's only because the old man died 5 minutes before me. God damn. Anyway, that was the most badass thing he could have ever done. And if you read the comics on Gambit, which again I love, because in like the mainstream media, he can get kind of like he kind of looks like a bitch because he's just the guy that throws playing cards. But he is so badass. And the fact that in his past, before I think even Thieves Guild, or maybe during his time with Thieves Guild, this motherfucker had himself given a lobotomy because he was too powerful, that he thought he couldn't handle it. Yeah. So the reason that he, does his thing with little explosions and stuff is because he literally blocked off the part of his brain that would allow him full potential, which I think he might have been just one under. I don't remember all the stuff, but I think he might have been Omega level of how powerful he was, that he was like, this shouldn't be able to be done. Like got a lobotomy so that he would be depowered. It's fucking nuts. He's such a badass. He's not just the guy that throws playing cards. He's fucking amazing.
I don't know if he is Omega level like now in the comics, but yeah.
I don't think he ever is. I don't think he ever will be, but I think upon his inception or when they go in his past, I think he might have been classified as one, or at least one under it. I don't remember all of the fucking levels. But yeah, he was considered to be so powerful that he was like, nope, I shouldn't have this power. I'm getting a lobotomy.
Yeah.
To cut off my powers. And it still didn't stick. He still has powers, they're just not as strong. He's fucking amazing. He's nuts.
We get the next episode, which you would think you're like, I need to see what happens next. What happens after this incident, right? The attack on Genosha. And we don't. We get Life Death Part 2, which is another split episode. The first half of the episode, we see Charles, which if anybody watched the original series, you know he's not actually dead. He went to space with the Shi'ar. So we get to see what he's doing with Lilandra and the Shi'ar Empire and all of that, which is really cool. What I liked about this episode is it shows the dichotomy of just how expansive X-Men is as far as they deal with cosmic stuff, aliens in space and all of this. The second half of the episode is back to Storm and Forge, and we get to see her, and it's fighting the adversary who's a demon, which if you read the X-Men comics, you also know that like there's a lot of stories that the characters deal with actual demons and hell, and magic is a big part of that, limbo and all of that stuff. This episode I really like because it just shows just the fucking versatility of it's not just Sentinels and robots and humans and other mutants. It's demons and aliens and space and hell and all of this. At the end of that episode, the first half of that episode, Charles finds out what happened in Genosha. He basically like gets a vision. He sees like Gambit and all of that in his head. Storm gets her powers back at the end. She beats the adversary and gains her powers back, and she saves Forge's life. And she sees, at the end of that episode, she sees on the news after she saves Forge what happened in Genosha. So she goes back to the X-Men. The episode after that is Rogue on a fucking warpath because of Gambit's death. Our first cameo from outside of the X-Men is Captain America.
Steve motherfucking Rogers.
And also Thunderbolt Ross, which was cool.
Ross, yeah.
She's basically on a warpath trying to find Bolivar Trask, who built the Sentinels, and find out what the fuck happened. How did they get there? I thought we shut down the Master Mold. What is happening? That's something we didn't talk about in the first episode. Storm does kill the last Master Mold, and she turns the sand with her lightning into shards of glass and then creates a tornado and fucking decimates the Sentinels. Storm is OP. She fights Captain America a little bit. Rogue does, and she tosses his shield and tells him to go fetch.
They don't fight at all.
Yeah, she takes his shield and she tells him to go fetch.
Yeah. They're in an argument because Cap is he is Captain America, so he abides by the government's rules, and he's like I gotta play by the books and all this stuff. And Rogue's pissed off because she just lost her second boyfriend, but
unbelievable.
And then she chucks his shield into the side of a fucking mountain.
I will say, too, the beginning of this episode, right before we see Rogue go off, is the funeral for Gambit. Yeah. And Nightcrawler is the one who's giving the eulogy, and Jubilee is mad that Rogue isn't there.
Yeah.
She's like, why isn't she here? And Nightcrawler also gives a great speech about Gambit and his potential and all of that. And then Jubilee's mad, and Logan tries to calm her down. But Nightcrawler then comes back and says, you guys didn't see what we saw in Genosha. And what Rogue is dealing with is more than just sadness and anger right now. And then we see her on this warpath. She is, and it also, rightfully so.
Nightcrawler's speech and eulogy does a great job. It's so beautifully written because, it's a fake eulogy for a fictional character, so there's it could be very basic. He goes in just to this rant about how Gambit always pictured himself the bad guy. He always downplayed himself because he would do anything for anybody, but he would never let anybody know. Like, it did a great job of
summing him up.
Yeah, of showing his actual character, not only in the show, but in the comic books. Like, Gambit's a guy that's like, fuck you. Like, he doesn't care. Yeah. He doesn't do anything.
But he does.
But behind the scenes, like he's one of the person that'll say "fuck you" to your face, but when you're not watching, like he'll give you the handout. Like he'll pick you up off the ground. Like that's who he is. He doesn't want anybody getting close to him. He doesn't want anybody knowing who he is. He's just to himself, and he wants to present himself as the badass that he is. But then behind closed doors, he'll he'll pick a puppy off the street. Like he'll fucking tend a wounded bird. Like he's just who he is, and it's a great thing. And it's just like, and the speech that Kurt gave in that moment was fantastic. But yeah, so then Rogue is just fucking shit up. At some point, Thunderbolt Ross is like, mutant. This shelter is built to stop the Hulk, and then she breaks in.
She just fucking breaks in. If anybody's wondering too, if you haven't watched the original series, Rogue, you know that Rogue can't touch them because she takes their powers and basically their life force. The reason she has these powers is because she took the powers from Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the original series, you'd see that there's a whole episode about it, and that's why she can fly and fucking has this strength. She goes to find, I'm drawing a blank on his name. It's not Trask, but the other guy that worked on the Sentinel program. She goes to vent her powers on him to kind of read his mind and to get into his head, and something in there is blocking her from doing that. And that end of that episode, that's where we get our little moment between her and Kurt about, you drew the short end of the adopted sibling.
Sister. Yeah, something like
that. We got our first look at the villain.
Yeah.
Which is revealed to be... Go ahead.
This is seen with Magneto, right? Right at the end
Yep.
All right, so...
the shave.
Yeah, revealed Magneto is alive. But
yes,
what I fucking love about this scene is that it doesn't feel like a cartoon. That was cinematic. Like, that wasn't animation. That was like somebody playing a part. Like, it looked so good. Like, it's basically the scene in Reservoir Dogs. Like, it is so, like, he has the fun music playing, and he looks so demonic, and he's shaving his face to like make him look presentable. Like, you're my captive, but I'm taking care of you. Like, it's like, it's so little things like that where it's like so the exact opposite. Like, when you put a fun song in a horror movie or on a crazy torture scene, it just makes everything so much worse. Like, everything's so much worse with a fun track behind it. And I'm like, oh, that's fucking cinema right there. Like, animation put fear in my heart. I was like, God, this guy's demonic.
Yeah, Bastion is the villain, and one of my favorite X-Men villains from the comics. He's never really been done in animation before, and he's never really had his moment. This show really fucking gives it to him. He's the ultimate Sentinel. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is the future of... he is the future, which they say in the finale even. Bastion is just OP. And it's funny because it's humanity. We create our own destruction, right? We create the thing that's going to kill us because humanity creates the Sentinels to take out the mutants, but the Sentinels realize that humans are also the problem and say, well, fuck all of you then. It gets very Terminator of like, no, it's all machines.
Yeah, because like the whole thing, because like they're supposed to get rid of mutants, but then they end up detecting if you have the recessive mutant gene to pass on to give on to mutants, and they're just killing people.
You're just kill, yeah.
And then eventually, like, comes to the realization, like, anybody can like give birth to a mutant, or like 10 generations down the line can be a mutant, and they'll just like kill everyone. Like,
everyone. We get our 3-part finale. That first episode is basically Magneto is held captive the entire time. We find out Bastion's backstory. Nimrod, who is the ultimate Sentinel from the future, left when he time traveled, left parts. He infected Bastion's father so that Bastion would be born a Sentinel, essentially, and making him even better than Nimrod. And he has the abilities also of Master Mold, where he can create Sentinels. Yeah. And he can turn living people into Sentinels as well. Yeah. Bastion has been doing this behind the scenes. If you go back in all of the episodes prior to Bastion's reveal, he's in every episode as well. And OZT, which is like on the armbands and everything of like the purifiers and everything, he's been running this the whole time. It stands for Operation Zero Tolerance. Bastion essentially gives his speech. We find out what he's doing and everything. These Sentinels attack, and they attack the X Mansion. We get to see Nightcrawler. Yeah.
So if you're on audio, I just came. Fucking. Oh my! Like I said, the fight choreography on this, they do things that just aren't done. One, I love when they give Nightcrawler his sword. When you give him his swashbuckler's pirate sword, and like he's using his tail to fucking god, it's so dope. And they're adding the teleporting with it, like teleporting behind the enemy, in front of the enemy, over to the next guy, taking him, just moving him out of the way because I don't feel like fighting you right now.
But every time he bamfs around, it's insane. And we get one of the coolest iterations of it when, because Logan's also tearing these people apart. It's great. Yeah. He's just fucking claws out, and he's just going to town. Logan stabs one of them, and Nightcrawler teleports that same one that Logan stabbed at the same time. And we actually get the POV of being teleported as he like takes that Sentinel, whatever. It's such a fucking insane thing. If this show doesn't get nominated for like best animation, travesty.
Yeah, no, it should be. Yeah, also Cable's back.
Yep, Cable is now back.
Cable is officially back. He's with Jean and Scott, a little family union, sort of, kinda. So they're fighting. They go to look for Bastion's mom.
Yes.
And they end up fighting that bitch.
That old bitch turns into a robot.
Dude, she was, again, creepy. She's an old lady
like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Yeah. That's what it reminded me of. She just, like, out the darkness turns into a robot.
Yeah, she's like an old lady in a hoarder's house, and she like seems senile and confused. She's like, "I said you were coming." They're like, "We didn't tell nobody."
You're a day early. I wasn't packed yet.
Yeah. They're like, "All right, I guess we'll just roll with it." And then she's like, "I'm here to fuck you up."
Yeah. You know what we didn't talk about actually from the previous moment that leads into this when Cable shows up?
Yeah,
is that they find Bolivar Trask, and he basically like tells them everything about what happened, and he gives them like this guy's been doing it behind the scenes, blah blah blah. And then he goes to commit suicide. He goes to jump off of the building, and Rogue stops him and does something that I've never seen in an animated show for kids before, where Rogue is like, no, that's not enough. You tell us where he is, right? And you think the hero, she saved him. She's not like, they're not gonna let somebody kill themselves. She's like, you tell us where he is. And then he tells her, and she just like, okay, thanks, and drops him. And like the rest of the X-Men are like,
they're looking at him
in disbelief. Yeah. Jaws on the floor. They're like, whatever. And then Cable shows up. While all of the Cable's fighting with, he has that little moment, the happy family moment. They're fighting robots together. Like, yeah, the X-Mansion's getting totally fucking decimated.
Yeah. But also at the same time, Wolverine and Nightcrawler are trying. What are they trying to protect her now? But they're trying to protect
Rogue.
They're trying to protect Rogue.
She's unconscious from the attack. Yeah.
Yeah.
From that last episode.
Yeah, Rogue was knocked out, so she's in like a hospital bed, basically.
In the X-Mansion, yeah.
Nightcrawler and Wolverine are fighting these guys right next to her because they're like, she's defenseless, she can't do anything. We have to make sure they don't touch her. So they're like, we can't handle this anymore. So Nightcrawler just starts teleporting them out of the X-Mansion so that they can fight them on different territory. Again, so dope. Cool fight scenes.
Hank's also great in that.
Yeah.
Hank was actually really good in this show, too, now that I think about it. He even has a moment, it is the episode prior in Genosha, when he basically tells the news lady off of, like, maybe trying to get you people to understand and like, asking for your permission was wrong. And he just walks away, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, also, was she getting that blue dick?
Oh.
Is that
100%? 100%.
I mean, not confirmed nor denied in this episode, but they seemed rather close.
Nah. She was getting that beast.
She technically a furry?
Absolutely. Oh, right. Absolutely. Yeah, nah. He was throwing it down. That episode ends with such a cool speech. Is our UN correspondent? I can't remember her name.
Can't remember. I don't know. UN bitch.
That lady. She lets Magneto out. She lets him out of the device that's holding.
She's initially on the side of Bastion. And Sinister.
Yep.
she's initially on their side, and then when she realizes, because Bastion shows her the experiments that he's doing, which is the reveal that he has been infusing biotech into people to turn them into Sentinels, which is basically what happens, and that's what all these characters are fighting, is people that have been infused with biotech to become the future of Sentinels. Basically what Bastion is, but now not as powerful because he is the inceptor of all of it. And she's like, whoa, I thought we were trying to kill mutants. You are basically killing people.
Everyone.
Yeah. So then he like leaves her alone. He's like, you'll see. It'll be great. Don't worry about it. It'll be awesome.
Great.
It'll be great.
You're gonna love it.
He comes back, or I think Sinister walks in on it.
Oh, I think Sinister lets him know.
I think Sinister sees her. She let Magneto out as he was held captive.
Yep. And she gives this great speech about, you know, having been in Genosha during the attack and everything, and everything about Charles. And she's like, you know, when robots are shooting and killing everybody around you, the scariest thought was thinking Magneto was right. He knew us better than Charles ever did. He didn't have any dreams for us. He knew what we are, and what we were capable of and what we would do. And we proved him right time and time again. And as that's happening, Magneto, in just his underwear, like a Speedo or something, I think. Yeah. I could see why Rogue was going after Magneto.
I don't know. You see Gambit in that crop top?
I did see Gambit in the crop top. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know what? See, now you got me like Rogue. I'm over here switching sides. So
yeah, you know, here's the thing. No Diddy. Everybody be saying that the generation nowadays is super gay. They would have been way gayer if this show actually came out in '97, because they are just giving you the male form time and time again. No Diddy.
Yeah, no, it's. Whew. So Magneto goes to the North Pole and he basically sends out an electromagnetic wave, an EMP blast that shuts down everything electronic in the world, basically shutting down all of the Sentinels. But, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, is that he shut down every electronic in the world. Planes fell out of the sky. Trains came to a screeching halt. People that were on life support, it shut down. He basically pulled the plug on everyone. And Wolverine then says, he did it. He just declared war on humanity. I can't believe he actually did it. Where's the professor when you need him? And on cue, Professor X falls out of space.
Yeah, that one, it was a little whack. It's kind of like
also,
oh really? Really, Logan? Where's the professor? Here he is.
Speaking subtext here, too, in the attack on Genosha, when the statue of Charles falls over on top of all of those mutants and kills them, so much was said without words.
Yeah.
So much. I loved it.
Here's the thing with Magneto. He is one of the most powerful people in the Marvel Universe, especially when you're talking amongst mutants and humans and stuff like that. Once you get intergalactic, it gets a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
When you get into like the cosmic people. In the world on Earth, in the Marvel Universe, Magneto is so fucking OP. It is ridiculous. And when you put him in mainstream media, you almost have to depower him, because it almost makes no sense that they can compete with him.
And you know what? They don't depower him at all in this show.
And
he's on full fucking.
In this one, they don't, because you see him. She lets him go, and you see him flying to the North Pole. And this is a real thing that he fucking has done. I thought he was about to flip the world on its axis and murder everyone.
Yeah. I mean,
it is lucky that he only turned off all the electronics.
The power.
Yeah. Because he literally could flip the entire world upside down if he wanted to and kill 75% of the population at the very least.
For people who don't realize, too, is that Magneto in the comics has stolen Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. Magneto's not worthy of holding the hammer, and he can't hold it. But through his magnetism, he can wield the hammer. So he's on another fucking level. we get into this episode now. After that, Charles is back and he brings the X-Men together, and Magneto basically pulls Asteroid out from under the water to lift it back up to space, and he's like, I've had enough. And Charles is trying to then convince him to turn the power back on. They're trying to create a plan to take down Bastion. They kind of split up. One team goes to fight Bastion and put this device on him that they basically reverse engineer the mutant dampening device to then dampen his abilities.
Scott, Jean, Cable, Morph, Go. I feel like I'm missing someone. Storm?
Hank.
They go to fight Bastion and Sinister.
Correct. And then
the rest of them, because
rest of them, because Rogue and Roberto go with Magneto.
In the midst of this, before they kind of decipher this plan of we need to split up, divide and conquer, Magneto goes and lifts an entire island or a chunk of land out of the Earth, and he's like, we're gonna live in space. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna live in space because fuck them. And he's like, and then we're gonna probably murder all these people.
And then murder more.
And he's like, if anybody wants to join me, come hither now. And Rogue, being full of revenge after the death of Gambit, her side piece, and especially wanting old man Dick again, goes with him. A plot that's been going on this whole time. Berto comes out to his family, no Diddy, that he's a mutant.
And Jubilee's she knew already.
Yeah, Jubilee's with him. He kind of gets disowned by his family. They allow the Sentinels to take him to basically take away his powers. They get away anyway. He's mad as all hell because he thought he was never going to be accepted. He thought they were accepting because she was like, "Oh yeah, we knew,
we knew, and we love you." And but to the public,
like, we're gonna hide this. And then once the public saw him, they're like, "Get him, get him!" Like, so he was pissed off as well. So then he goes with them. So Berto and Rogue go with Magneto. We're doing our own shit now.
So the rest of the team, Charles, Scott. Charles, Scott, Storm, Logan, and Jubilee go to space.
No, Scott is down.
No, he's not. Nope.
Okay. Well,
Nope.
Nightcrawler was with them, I believe.
Yes, Nightcrawler might be with them as well, up in space.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I know Scott's separated because he has the vision.
Yeah, they said because Storm is down with Jean. Because he said,
correct.
Me and Professor, we're taking Squad 1, Jean and Storm as the other kind of leaders of the group are taking Squad 2.
So the plan is to put the dampening device on Bastion, the team on the ground. Once they get that down, they get Magneto to turn the power back on. Even with the power on, he has the dampening device around his head. He can't control any Sentinels. They go to do that. Sinister kind of takes over. I'll kind of run through all of this quick because there's a lot of action. But Sinister basically attacks Jean. He takes over Cable's mind, which was his plan all along. Cable attacks Jean. Jean has up a portal. We actually get to see Cable use his psychic powers, which is really cool. Jean kind of shows Scott. It says goodbye to Scott, and then Cable blasts through her shield. Morph goes to then take down Bastion, and it doesn't work. Up in space, they're trying to convince Magneto to stop, and he's not. And Charles is like, I'll just take over your mind myself and do it. Scott stops Charles from doing that, which, is a big moment for Scott, where he's like, I believe in you, Professor, but this is not the way. That's not the right thing to do. Well, kind of being the voice of reason there.
Initially,
he stops him. They end up putting Magneto's helmet on Charles to stop him. And this episode ends with one of the craziest things. Logan pulls up and fucking stabs Magneto from behind, and Magneto is like, all right, I've always been able to do this, and I didn't want to, but he pulls all of the adamantium out of Logan's body.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Which is possibly going to lead to the worst Wolverine storyline ever accepted, and it's going to be brought on the screen, and I hate it. I mean, it was a cool scene. It was a cool part, but I feel like, especially with the time, fuck well, we didn't get into it yet, but the shit that we're gonna talk about later, the actual finale, dude. If I get this Inception of Wolverine, if you guys don't know, I think it's back in like the late '80s, early '90s, '80s, I think.
Berserk Wolverine.
Yeah, Savage Wolverine, fucking whatever you want to call him. Same thing. Wolverine gets the adamantium ripped off of his bones, so he's back to Bone Claw Wolverine. Which is like kind of his initial, well, secondary Inception, because initially he didn't even have claws. He just kind of had claws on his suit. And he becomes Savage Wolverine, where basically he gets a Michael Jackson nose and he gets 10 times hairier and he like don't really speak English or nothing. And he's basically an animal. And it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. Why he got a Michael Jackson nose, I don't know. It's fucking stupid. It's like the worst Inception of Wolverine ever. It's a terrible storyline, and I feel like that's what they're gonna do next. Now that he has no metal on his bones, and I'm like, oh, please.
I have a feeling they're gonna set up something else that's probably not great either. We jump into the next episode. Charles has somehow gotten the helmet off, and he is full on.
I think when Wolverine stabs him, he lets go of his magnetic stuff, and I think he's able to, because Magneto is holding the helmet on Charles with his magnetism, because they take it off.
Correct.
They get it off of him, and then eventually, and then he's like, I can't get it back on myself, but I know what they're trying to do. I'm gonna put the helmet on Charles so that he can't do anything.
Right, and I think what we should know too, what's really cool is that the helmet thing was created by the live action movie, the Fox movies, back in what was that, 98?
Yes.
It wasn't a thing in the comics until the movie came out and then everybody kind of turned around and said, well, that makes so much fucking sense. Like, why didn't we think of that sooner? Yeah, the helmet blocks Charles. Yeah, that's fucking genius.
Yeah, that's why he's wearing this tin can.
And it makes sense.
Which also makes me wonder. We talked about. I don't know if either of us ever looked into this.
I did, I did. Yeah, it's
the Juggernaut thing.
It's a bit. It is something that the helmet just can do because it's mystical. It's like the abilities that he gets from the gemstone. It's mystical, so the helmet does protect him from psychic attacks.
So the helmet. So,
but it was in the comics. It was in the comic. Yeah,
beforehand.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. On the episode that you guys will never, you guys are probably confused. The episode that you guys will never ever hear in your entire lives that we recorded and talked about this. He spat out this fact because that's what this guy does, and I was like, I wonder, because I was like, well, Juggernaut's immune to Professor X's shit too because he has the giant helmet on. I didn't know if that also came about from the movie or if that was a prior thing, because I could have sworn that's always kind of been part of Juggernaut's character.
Always
Professor
was.
X could not get a hold of him mentally unless you fucking took his
helmet off. What's crazy about that is if you actually go back to the early X-Men the animated series, you'll see Professor X use his psychic abilities on Magneto, even though Magneto's wearing the helmet. It's not a plot hole. It's because the live action movies came up with this idea.
It's a retcon.
It's a retcon. Everybody said that's genius. We should have been doing this sooner, and they retconned it. So Charles has the helmet off now. Fucking Logan had his fucking metal pulled out, and Charles is full fucking psychic blasting Magneto. Also, and he's like, I'll make you do it.
I don't like that they have Wolverine on life support.
Well, he's not healing.
But he heals. Like, we know he heals.
But he's not. That's
no, but we know he heals. Like, we get it. Trauma happened. But the adamantium has nothing to do with his healing. Honestly.
Yeah, no, I know, but he's not healing. That's the thing. Or they need him to heal faster.
Also, honestly, if anything, he should be healing faster because a hindrance to his powers is his adamantium poisoning in his body. Constantly.
Yeah, that's true.
So I thought that was a weird thing. I was like, why do we have the guy that heals on life support?
While we're talking about him being on life support, there's a moment where because Scott says it to him, don't break her heart. And I think he's referring to Jean because even Scott knows at the end of the day, I'm going home to Jean, but I know she has you, Logan, but I'm going home to her.
Cuck. Anyway,
they both are. So whatever. Morph is then by his bedside, and Morph says, because Logan says Jean, Morph says, she can't say it, but I can. I love you, Logan.
And he morphs into her first.
He morphs into her, and then
just
he
so you
says
guys know, he's not just saying it all pale
well,
face.
actually, so a lot of people are arguing online over it, and the writer, the head showrunner, said Morph was saying it because Morph has feelings for Logan. And I actually, so the showrunner said it. The showrunner is the one who said that is why that line is in there. Morph is saying she can't say it, but I can, because Morph also feels that way. I watched a compilation of all of the scenes between Morph and Logan, and it does make sense. It's not just out of nowhere.
I didn't read the compilation, but as for my color commentary, Morph is a little fruity. He knew way. He's a very flamboyant character for me to put in a more optic light, and which for somebody that can morph into anything, it's almost fitting. Like, a lot of times when you have a character like that is a shapeshifter and can do things as such, they're usually almost like in a non-binary sense. It's usually kind of comes with the character. Usually when you have that kind of special move set.
Well, and the character is non-binary in the show, and I can see it now, having gone back and watched like all of the scenes between them throughout the show from the early episodes. It isn't out of left field with Morph kind of confessing their feelings for Logan. There's the episode when they're in the mansion and they go off to do their own thing, and then Morph goes to shower and the shower's on and Logan's in the shower, and he kind of gets in the doorway and he's like, "Do you need some help with those hard to reach places?" You know, like, I'm like, oh, okay.
But it can also be can misconstrued because he's also the comedic relief character as well.
And that's, I think, initially
it seems like a joke, you know?
It seems like a joke, but yeah, so Morph is confessing their own feelings for Logan through Jean, because Morph knows, as everybody fucking knows, Logan has a thing for Jean, Jean has a thing for him, and Scott has a thing for Jean and Madeline, and it's a mess. It's a fucking mess.
Yeah, either way,
all of that aside, Charles goes full fucking ham on Magneto's brain and scrambles it like a bowl of fucking eggs.
But
gets him to...
It's also the thing with these characters is that they're at their breaking point. Like, Magneto's like, I don't want to do this to you guys. I don't want to do this to Wolverine. I don't want to do any of it. But you're forcing my hand. You're getting in my way. So, he rips the adamantium off of his skeleton. And at that point, Charles is like, well, now you're forcing my hand because I don't want to do this. And I warned you that I would never do this. But here I go. I'm taking over your mind. Because to the early days of the inception of these characters, there's always been a thing like Charles is like, I will never want to take over Magneto's mind. I don't like taking over people's minds, especially not my best friend. Like, it's a line that I don't want to cross. But Magneto crossed the line after he felt like Wolverine crossed the line by stabbing him. He's like, all right, I'm done with this shit. I'm not doing it. I just got stabbed. I'm ripping the adamantium off her skeleton. And then Charles is like, well, now I got to do this because that's my boy. Scrambles his fucking brain.
It's also the downside to it is that with Charles doing something like that, especially somebody who is as strong-willed as Magneto, taking over his mind like that and forcing him to use his abilities causes him to scramble his fucking noggin. He basically turns the power back on, even though the people on Earth hadn't fucking finished their job, Charles. Bastion gets his full fucking power back. Phoenix, Jean basically wakes up with part of the Phoenix. She defeats Sinister, makes him old and ugly and fucking grody, and it's cool. And then Bastion takes Cable's arm, evolves even further. I loved his look. They gave him the wings and everything. It was dope. He flies off and says, fuck it, I'm done. Like you said, everybody's at their fucking limit, right? Bastion flies off to space, and he's like, I'm going to crash asteroid into the Earth, and everyone's going to go the way of the dinosaur. He flies off, he goes to do it, and Rogue gets her fucking lick back and beats his ass.
The fight sequence, because they're like, it's a bunch of them fighting Bastion. So like Nightcrawler going to Rogue, like they are going back and forth on this guy. It's pretty badass.
It's so badass. Even Jubilee. And a lot of people don't realize Jubilee's power is not fireworks, right? She is detonating matter at a subatomic level. Jubilee is extremely powerful. Roberto gets his moment. He calls himself Sunspot. We get him in like full fucking form. It's awesome. But it doesn't stop Asteroid M from kind of going down. The US decides to attack because they're like, well, Magneto is a threat and we have to stop him. So they send missiles up to Asteroid, destroying the engine. It's going down. Idiots. They fucking cause their own problems, right? The X-Men decide to try and stop it. They're trying to have this moment where they're all trying to like figure out how to stop the asteroid from crashing down. Charles is trying to fix Magneto's brain, which we get a nice little cameo of Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Polaris on the boat inside his mind.
Which also the entire time, like because like it was like a decision. Like they kind of built up the decision to shoot the missiles, and it's literally in a file called like Magneto plan or something like that. Like it's a specific plan to kill Magneto. Granted, they don't know what's going on, so they're like, I think we're gonna die. So, but they come to a decision like, fuck it, we have to do it. And Charles is trying to get Magneto back because he's the only person that can stop it from happening. Long story short, eventually, after this long emotional thing that Charles and Eric go through to basically bring back Magneto's memories, because he has no idea what's going on, because Charles didn't just kind of shut down Magneto, he basically wiped his entire identity and being. And they get it back in the nick of time. He saves the world, and you can see on the president's face, he's like, I feel like a dick.
Yeah, no, and
I just shot him out of the sky, and he just saved everybody's life because he didn't know what was going on.
And again, it's great foreshadowing and whatever. It's thank God we're not like you people. Scott told the news anchor, because if we were, you would be dead. What's really cool, I don't know if you, there's a nice little Easter egg in that file for Magneto. It says known aliases, and it has the names of the actors who've played him. So it says Ian, and the rest is like redacted. Michael Fassbender, and the original actor who voiced him in the animated series. They're all like aliases for Magneto. Cool. Ton of cameos in this episode as well. There's been cameos throughout the show. We got Captain America, Morph turns into Hulk,
Morph turns into Magic, which was like
and Angel. But for like outside of the X-Men, he does turn into Hulk. He turns into Mr. Fantastic,
Black Panther, Mr. Fantastic, Spider-Man, Iron Man,
Daredevil, Cloak Dagger.
Yes, I forgot about them,
which was so awesome.
Yeah, so I think this is also going to be an expansion of
100%.
Marvel's animated universe.
I think they want to bring back all of these shows that were already connected in the 90s. These shows had already crossed over before. The one thing that's really pissing people off is that Black Panther is not T'Challa. It's T'Chaka in X-Men 97. Which doesn't make sense because T'Challa was the Black Panther in the Fantastic Four show.
Mm-hmm.
And T'Chaka had already died. Like, they established that already. But the reason being is that Marvel has a rule right now that nobody's allowed to use T'Challa.
Yeah.
Because of Chadwick. So, which I think, okay, in the MCU, I get what they're doing, but outside of that, doesn't really make a lot of sense. The only other character I know that was off limits to them for this show was Deadpool. But I also don't think Deadpool would have fit in this series at all. But we do get to see Omega Red, and I think maybe we get some Weapon X stuff.
We had Omega Red, we had Silver Samurai. I think we had another one. I can't fucking remember.
Anyway. So we get all these cameos, and Magneto gets his memories back, like you said, and he basically they're fighting Bastion, and they're stopping the asteroid from going down. They try to save Bastion, and Roberto takes Jubilee back down to Earth because she like flies out the side of the fucking asteroid. So the people on there are Charles, Magneto, Logan, Scott, Jean, Storm, Rogue, Nightcrawler. The only people left on Earth are Hank, Forge, Jubilee, Sunspot. The rest of them are on the asteroid. They're trying to stop it before it even goes down. It kind of like it goes back up. They lift it back in the air, and then it disappears, right?
Yeah, it just kind of
just poof, gone.
Yeah,
all of these characters are gone. We time jump a little bit from there to Forge in a room, and Bishop walks in, and he tells him something along the lines of, "It's not about where they are, but when somebody pulled them through time." Mm-hmm. And on the board, we get another nice little like Easter egg of mutants. A lot of them are like missing or presumed dead, and it's like Charles Magneto because we have no idea where they are.
Everybody that was already in the show basically says missing or presumed dead. And then there's a couple others.
Yeah, Angel, Magic, Dust, Iceman, Shadowcat was on there. Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver are off world, so I wonder where they are. And there might have been another one that I'm missing. But anyways, probably. A lot of characters that we could end up seeing in the next season.
So presumably, which we'll get into what the others were doing, we're thinking within the present day of this timeline, Forge will be forging a new, I know how
team.
He's gonna be forming a new.
Hate it.
I know. He's going to be forming a new X-Men. We would all assume. So that this team's going to get that much bigger. But these guys aren't. Well, because, I mean, I guess you do still kind of have a team. If you're saying you have Sunspot, you have Jubilee. Now you have Forge.
And Bishop.
Bishop's back. So you have a little bit of people. I'm guessing they're going to bring in a couple more, expand the team a little more. But these guys are not dead. Next thing they show is Jean Scott. Who's with Jean and Scott?
No, I think they do the past one first. Don't they? But
yeah, it doesn't matter. Either way.
It's just Jean and Scott.
Is there no one else with them?
No, because you know who they don't show at all is Storm and Logan. We don't know where they are. But yeah, so it's Jean and Scott.
Jean and Scott are in the future. I believe in the future that Cable... Was Cable with them?
I don't think so. Because he wasn't there. He wasn't up on the asteroid. They left him on Earth.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, which, you know what? There's the animation, if you go back and watch that scene when after they talk to Cable, when they're trying to stop the asteroid, Jean like projects them
diner.
down.
I forgot. Yeah, that was a great scene. There's
great
a diner
scene. Shows him his eyes. Scott, when he takes off his visor to use the blast to like charge up what they're doing to like get the asteroid back up, when he pulls off the visor, you can see the tears in his eyes coming down as his fucking just full blast comes out of his eyes. Because it's painful for him. It's not pleasant. Because his abilities don't work the way they're supposed to because of his injury. But yeah, so we get them in the future with the Ashkani, which is Rachel Summers.
Yes.
Which is a future version of... Well, not a future version. It is a future version, but it's an alternate timeline version of the daughter of Jean and Scott, Rachel Summers, and then she brings out young Cable, young Nathan, which is interesting because in the comics, when Rachel Summers figured out, she was originally from a version of Days of Future Past, and then there's a storyline with her dealing with Apocalypse in the future. Which I think this is where they're going. She brings Cable forward to her future to help her, but she clones Cable to have his DNA just in case he fails. Apocalypse finds that young version of Cable, takes him, raises him as his own, and that's how we get Strife. So I think that's kind of where we're going to go with the future of that. Elsewhere is Rogue and Nightcrawler and Magneto and Charles.
I guess they're like an ancient Egypt or...
Yeah, like 3000 BC or something like that. And they stop this guy who's being attacked, and he reveals he is En Sabanur, which is Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Before he was all blue. People don't realize that he was that color. He gets armor from a dead Celestial in his ship. And that's where he gets like blue and all that stuff from.
Yeah. So basically, you're in the future, which is Tales and Apocalypse storyline. In the past, you meet like the OG version of Apocalypse, where he like kind of ascends to what we all know to be him. So a lot of time travel shenanigans, I believe our next big bad is Apocalypse in the next season. That's already greenlit. We don't know where Storm and Logan are. I'm guessing fucking Logan got sent back to caveman times and lost his nose.
Did you mention that one post-credit scene of the Genosha of Apocalypse?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, we're also Gambit's coming back for sure.
I miss
as
him
the
so
Horseman
much.
of Death. I don't know that anybody's gonna like it, but he's coming back. That's a
Which
given.
It'll be shenanigans, but yeah, it'll be cool to see what they do with the Horsemen. Because I wonder if they're gonna go with a lot of the OGs, especially since they're showing Angel. You know, like they're doing.
I mean, but Angel's already Archangel at this point. We've had Apocalypse done in the OG series. I also think of something that's gonna end up picking up in the second season. I don't think it was done unintentionally. Like Professor X taking over Magneto's mind is the precursor to the Onslaught story.
Mm-hmm.
And he did scramble his brain. So I could see Onslaught also coming out as a threat and that being part of the storyline. I could feel it being more than just Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, we're gonna have all of these different teams of X-Men because they're gonna be all over the world and all across time.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what characters they bring in. I'm really excited to see who else shows up. I mean, like you said, we saw Morph turn into Magic, and then we saw Forge's board. So there's clearly other mutants out there, other big characters that people love.
Yeah, but I believe, because it's not simple enough to just be like, you're gonna get this storyline. You're gonna have 4 storylines.
Yeah.
Like almost like Umbrella Academy. Like you're gonna have so much fucking going on between these different characters, because you're gonna have the past, the future, the current that's probably going to be going after the past and the future, and wherever the fuck Logan and Storm are. You'll be having 4 different teams, 4 different storylines going on.
And that's if Storm and Logan are together.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume they are, just because, for reasons. For reasons. Like that's just a lot. You got like 5 different.
No, it's a lot already happening.
That's what I mean for reasons. Fuck you guys. I'm lazy. Anyway, yeah, it's a nuts show though. I kept seeing a debate online after the finale of this, and people, which I think maybe if we're talking just like singular show, how it matches up, but like people are like, oh, does Marvel animation, step up to DC animation now? Because for any guys that don't know, Marvel's had some decent animations. Like the original X-Men's pretty good. Like the '90s Spider-Man's pretty good. Like all the shows, like they're decent. Like they're not bad. They have some good shows. But DC has dominated animation for ever.
Yeah, and I mean, even a lot of people want like '90s Spider-Man to come back, and I get it.
It's just fine.
Which is fine, and I get it because it is already connected to like this version of the X-Men and stuff. But it's not my favorite Spider-Man cartoon either.
Not. Yeah, I don't. Not X-Men. Marvel's had okay animation. Like it's been good. Like it's watchable. It's fun. But DC's just been dominant in the animation landscape.
Yeah.
Like when you think about like Batman the animated series, when you think about Batman Beyond, when you think about Teen Titans, you think about Young Justice, you think about the Justice League, you think about the Superman cartoon. You think about all the animated movies that they made more in the recent
Justice League
years.
Unlimited.
So then, do you think that this is the right step for Marvel to where they might be becoming on par with DC in animation? And even if so or not, do you think that 97 stands up to the Titans? That is, I said Titans because but I didn't mean.
No, I get what you mean.
One of the shows, like one of the big shows that DC has made and has become like a staple of like some of the best cartoons that we've ever seen.
No, I definitely think that it is the right step for them, and I do think that 97 can. I think 97 does stand up. I think it is on par with some of those older shows. It's just it's so good. I have like little critiques for 97. It's just that fucking good. The writing is that tight. Everything is incredible. The cameos are awesome. I'm excited to see where they go for the next season and beyond that. I also think that, and I think this what for me makes it that this is quintessential and can stand up to those other shows, is that this is the standard for me now for X-Men, right?
Yeah.
Marvel is going to reboot the X-Men in the MCU. So we're going to get a new X-Men movie with all new actors at some point in the future. This is the standard. This is the bar. And if it doesn't hit that, if it doesn't reach that, then I don't want it. I really don't. Like, it's just, this is the type of story we need to be telling. Again, with how much story they packed into each episode, only being 30 minutes, there's zero excuse for them to not tell such an emotional but badass story that looks fantastic in live action. There's no excuse. Oh,
yeah.
Like, I don't want another Wolverine in the X-Men.
I don't think you're gonna. I don't think you get that.
Like, what makes this work so well? Logan's not a main character. People were mad at 97. Why is Wolverine not in the spotlight? He's a member of the X-Men. They all get their moment in this show.
Yeah, it's a misconception that after the movies came out, and it, like, because I think when you do go into live action, a pure team movie, especially when you're in a pure team like the X-Men that's so big, you kind of need to, like, centralize onto a character. And they picked Wolverine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But ever since those movies and how popular they were, everybody's like, well, now everything has to revolve around Wolverine. And you're like, no, not really. No. Because, like, if there's always been enough, like, the argument, the main character of the X-Men, Scott, like, just plain and simple, Wolverine has gotten much bigger into the spotlight of the X-Men as of recent, but the main character, Scott, he's the team leader. Like, it's always been Scott. It's just, he's a little more boring to follow.
I think just as a whole, this show does a really good job of kind of showcasing all of them and even giving them all their moments that are just, Logan has his in the show. And I think he'll have a big role in the next season just with how his story ended with this one.
Yeah, for sure.
I think outside of all of the X-Men stuff, and it's a lot to unpack in that, there's just so much. Go watch the show. It's incredible. I couldn't recommend it more. The other big thing for us to talk about is it was ongoing when we first tried to record this. I think it is now done completely.
Done.
Nobody's responded. It's been a while. The Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef, which I think we're mainly going to focus on that because that it didn't start that way, but it quickly turned into just them two.
Yeah. So in this conversation of the beef, we're going to try to go song by song, give you our takes, give our opinions. Ray might have some quotes. I'm terrible at that shit.
And we're mainly going to focus on just, I think, the songs that the two of them released about each other. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much.
There's a lot of stuff going around, so we're also going to get into like there's a lot of stuff circling this based off of how personal this beef got. So to start this off, on the new Future Metro album that came out, there was a song like that, which had featured Kendrick Lamar. Pretty good verse. I mean, probably the best song on the album, partly due to Kendrick's appearance on there, his feature. But what got the internet, I listened to these as they all came out. But in preparation for this episode, I've been looping all of the songs that have came out to make sure that I am giving an accurate assessment of what I think about everything. But it did change my opinion a little bit as I went on and I've re-listened. You always have an initial opinion on listen, but you always have to give something a re-listen, especially when it comes to music, to fully form an opinion on it, because you get caught up in a beat, you don't hear every word. Sometimes there's lines that don't hit you when you're like trying to, like, when you're absorbing something for the first time. And it's all so crazy how this started, because these guys have been throwing bigger jabs at each other for years. And Kendrick's line that sets this whole thing in motion, because it's all just in this one line, fuck the big three, it's just me.
Just big me. And honestly, it doesn't feel like it just feels competitive. It doesn't feel like...
No, Kendrick's been saying, and I think both of them, maybe not Cole, but both of them have been saying for years that they're the best. For years. Those two have been saying that they're the best. And everybody gives them the respect of that they're the best. Him saying this one line, for some reason, was just different than all the other times he's done it. And all the other times that Drake's done it.
Yeah, no, Drake took that shit personally,
Yeah,
and Cole did too. Cole did too,
yeah.
but Cole
But
backpedaled.
I think it was the outrage of the media blowing it out of proportion.
Oh yeah,
Because
absolutely.
they were like, "He's taking shots," and
What are you
like,
gonna
well,
do? What are you gonna
now
say?
now I got to respond because people are saying making a thing out of it. Like when Kendrick dropped Control, or when Kendrick was featured on Control by Big Sean, 2012, nothing happened, and he was taking legit shots
Well,
at
I
everybody,
think it
including
makes
those guys.
sense. It makes sense that you say that like the media and like just social media
It's the influence, man.
had because Cole responded
He
like almost
responded
right
because
away, and
he felt like he had to.
but he then felt like he's like that's not me, and a lot of
Which,
people are like Cole pussied out, blah blah blah.
hey,
That's not Cole.
I'll tell you what, because I'm on the train of this. Cole's not a diss track guy. He's made like one diss track in his entire life, and it was good because of the way that he did it. Not saying that he can't. The dude's a monster on the mic. He's just not battle. He's not battle tested because he doesn't want to be. You know, like that's not his.
He doesn't
that's
need
not,
to be though.
That's
Yeah,
not his scene. That's not what he does. And the only time that he did it, which I love, it's I think so underrated. It goes in like very special to me in 1985. The way that he did it was so cold. Just like don't. It's literally him. Just he sunned him. He was like, "Don't let me give you some advice. Don't take shots at me. Don't do the stuff you're doing. Let me show you the right path." Like it was so disrespectful in the way that he was saying, "Let me show you something," which I think is the magic of Cole, that he's not a violent person. He's not the guy that go on the mic and say, you know, fuck you, this is that. Like you like all the things that you do in a battle, it's not Cole. So when he made that track, you know, I think it's amazing. I think it's very much him. I think that's the way that he does a diss track. And I'm going to get more into that later when we talk about a certain track that Kendrick made, because I feel like he did a similar thing. It was creative, it was nice, it was fun. And he made a diss track, and it was pretty good. I'm not going to lie, it was cool. And I was also under the impression, like, well, if you regretted doing it, you probably just shouldn't have done it in the first place. No one would have looked at you any different. I wouldn't have looked at Cole any different if you just didn't say anything. Because to me, it's a little jab. No one really cares if you don't respond. When he put the track out and then at Dreamville told everybody that he's taking it down because he feels regret for his actions, I was like, all right, respect. That's Cole. That's what he does. But there is a little sentiment like, then why'd you release it in the first place?
Well, and like, I think like you said, even if you go back to like, that's just not who Cole is. You look at like Let Nas Down, right? As a song where he has this like, this conflicting feeling of like, what do you mean I let my idol down? I let my fucking, the guy that made me want to do this, I let him down. And then in that like that final verse, he's kind of like, fuck you. Like, how you gonna tell me I let you down? Like, fuck you. But at the same time, his chorus throughout that whole song is like, long live the legends, may they never be your rivals.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's kind of what he is. Like, even though he's upset and he's mad, like, and he's like, yeah, I let him down, but fuck him, I'm still do this and I'm gonna do it my way. That's just Cole. Like, he's not a hateful, he's not a like, it did feel weird for him to put out a diss track. It was fire.
Well, here's the thing though. As this went on, he looks great.
No, he got out when he should have. Part of me is almost like, because he's been friends with Kendrick too, so I wonder if they had a conversation where it was like, "Dog, get out now," and Cole was like,
"Well, because here's the thing. I'm like, when he released like, oh, nah, that's not me. I'm taking it down. Everybody's like, Cole's pussy. Cole don't want the smoke. Yeah. Kendrick would smoke Cole. Listen, here's the thing. When you're talking about fuck whatever you're gonna say about Drake, whatever. When you're talking about the two guys that have been the best reviewed rappers for the last decade and a half, like these guys to me is 1-2 when it comes to lyrical ability, like the things that you can do on the microphone, the attention that you can get, the things that you're doing in the industry. I get the hit maker that Drake is, but when it comes to the ability and the people that I would want by my side in a diss battle from that generation of guys, it's those two 1-2 punch. Neither of them are smoking the other, but I think just because of who Cole is, like if this was how the battle starts with these early tracks, like with 616, with Euphoria, with kind of family, like Cole can stand up with the best of them. But when this gets personal, Cole's not taking that shot. He doesn't want to. So like that's why I think he looks great. Not because I think Cole got dirt that like I don't think he got dirt that people can throw over him or nothing like that. But Cole isn't the person to take it that far. Like he can give you a fire diss, but it's not at
this
your
one
family.
this went
it's
to
not
a
at your
place
personal life.
This went to a whole different place. So after Cole, we got, correct me if I'm wrong, but we get Drake's first response, right?
We got push-ups, yeah.
Push-ups, which I liked. It's not a bad diss track. The chorus is cool. He's throwing shots at everybody. He shows thoughts. Wow, Jesus fucking Christ! Throws shots at Future and Metro.
Here's the thing though, which I think this is generic diss track. I know what you're about to say. We're getting into it. I know what you're about to do. I know it's your favorite part of the fucking beef. You're about to bring it up, dude.
It's such a fire line though.
Now, so here's my thing. Like, it's a general diss track, which I think is fine for a response that all Kendrick did was have a line in a song that was partially pointed at you. So he did a general diss track. It felt similar to when he did Back to Back, which is a great song. It's a radio hit. It's not the best diss track of all time. Fuck you if you think that. Meek Mill dropped the ball and not fucking being able to return that one. But when you do that, you put the word out to Kendrick, I'm coming for you. But to me, if you're coming for Kendrick, realize you're coming for Kendrick. Don't shoot at everybody else. You have, I don't know how long the song is, 3 minutes, whatever. You have 3 minutes on the mic. Do not waste a line on somebody else because you need every second of that to attack.
Well, no, he's shooting at everybody, and that's the thing.
He's shooting at everyone.
Firing off at one person.
Yeah, don't divert your attention. Again, it's a pretty decent diss track. When it first came out, I was like, this is whack, whatever. Again, on the second, third listen, I'm like, all right, he's got some stuff in there. But when the lines that people remember from you are the fact that you called him short and said that somebody took his money, and like that's the lines that you had at him, that's not the best track. They're childish lines. And when the biggest line that everybody remembers isn't even about the guy that you're dissing, you did something wrong. Because go ahead, do it. I know what you want to do.
Metro, shut your whole ass up and make some drums. That shit is fire. It's fire.
It's the line that everybody remembers, and that's your problem. Because now everybody's focused on that you just said something to Metro, not that you are attacking Kendrick Lamar. And the bars that people do remember, like you've been on TikTok, you've been on Instagram. What are all the videos? Drake being, you got little feet, you're short, you got no money. Like, it's people making fun of that he had childish bars. Or people just saying that he went off on Metro. Like, nobody was focused on anything else that Drake said. He fucked up. Now, I think this is a little later in the timeline that we're going down, but Metro did some weird shit.
Oh, so Metro does my favorite thing ever. Okay, so Drake took that shit personally when Kendrick was like, it's just Big Me. Drake took it personally, and then he shot back at everybody. And Metro took it personally when he said, shut your whole ass up and make some drums. So Metro said, bet, I'ma make a diss beat. EBL Drizzy, which is fire. The beat is insane.
I will give Metro props. I think it's hilarious because when you diss a producer, as a producer, what are you supposed to do? What are you gonna
make a beat? You make a beat. You get your friends to rap on it.
Yeah. But that's not you. Like, at the end of the day, someone's like, "Yeah, the fuck." Like, you're not attacking me. You know people to attack me. Like, it's not the same. So like so I admire what he did. The way that he went about it, I think is ridiculous.
I love it so much.
I think it's hilarious. I think like it was the best thing that he could have done, being like, okay, you came at me, what can I do? Really nothing. So let me put out a beat about your ass. That's the thing that I think is weird. I think he's like, I'm gonna put out this
because
beat
everybody's been saying it. Everybody's been saying it that Drake got a BBL, right? So it is insane. It's an insane thing to make a beat on. It's an insane thing for it to be the chorus and like the background.
It's hilarious. But then to put it out to the public, take it away. Yeah, I know you've been listening to these motherfuckers all week.
I can't. So Metro puts it out and he first puts it out and says, I want to have a competition. Whoever can deliver the best verse on this beat gets a beat from me. Personally, I will make you a beat. That's an insane thing because Metro is an award-winning producer.
He's
right?
the biggest
He's
in the
not
game
just
right
some.
now.
He's not
He's the
some
biggest in the game
small-time
right now.
guy. Yeah.
No. He is the guy.
He did
right
the
now.
soundtrack for the last Spider-Verse movie. Like, we're not just talking about some small-time producer. He then upped the ante. He said, on top of that, I'm going to give $10,000 to whoever can win. $10,000 and a Metro beat? You're telling me you're going to pay me and make me a beat? That's crazy. Social media has blown up. I've seen versions, people rapping from all over the world. Japan, France. I seen a Spanish version, a Spanish dance version, okay? It is insane what is happening with this shit. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Because Drake is getting dissed by people from all over the world. Love it.
Yeah.
Way
it
to
was
go,
genius.
Metro. Way
it
to
was
go,
genius.
Metro.
Good shit, Metro. You're a little weird talking about this motherfucker ass, but
I don't care.
I just before or after next time say no Diddy. Have that be your tagline. No Diddy.
Listen, you know what? That's fine because I don't know if people remember this, but like there are times when like rappers have said some shit that's sus and they get away with it, right?
Mm.
For those of y'all that don't remember,
I feel like
back in the day, Biggie had a line in a song where he said, "It looks so good, I suck your daddy's dick." That's insane, and nobody said anything. I want to know where Biggie's friends were. I want to know where Biggie's friends were in the booth that day. Nobody turned around and said,
"It was Diddy." What are you talking about? It was Diddy. He was right there. He literally produced it. It was literally right next to him.
It makes so much sense now.
Biggie's like, "Fuck, I need a line to start off of this verse. What should I?" Yo, give me the pen. I got you. Just hop in the booth. Diddy, real quick.
That's the first and only time Diddy's ever written a lyric, and that's why he's got ghostwriters. Anyways,
anyway, all right. So whatever, BBL Drizzy. It's a little further.
It's crazy. It's great.
But we had to put it in there because it was a response to push-ups. With Drake,
and I love it.
Saying "Shut your ass up and make some drums." Now, Drake does a back-to-back on this. No pun intended on that. He throws out tailor-made freestyle,
which I hated,
which is the wackest shit I've ever heard in my life. And
it's gotten pulled.
Yeah, it did get pulled. You can't find it unless it's just someone else putting it on YouTube.
Yeah,
but there's no official channel that has freestyle for it. So if you missed the wave of when people were listening to it. What Drake did was he made another diss, but he AI'd Tupac and Snoop Dogg's voices as the first two verses on the track. Not like an intro or a couple lines.
Full verses.
On Tupac, Snoop Dogg verses to diss Kendrick. It's so whack. It's like not even like it's a terrible song, but it's a terrible move.
No, and it's weird, and I don't like it. Like, Pac's dead, and Pac's a legend. Respect Pac. But Snoop's alive. That's weird. Snoop would never say that. Snoop wouldn't have done that. Pac wouldn't have done that. It's just disrespectful all around. I don't care for it. Because he's doing it as, like, I can get your mentors and your people to diss you. And it's like, it's just disrespectful. Because you know in reality they wouldn't.
Pay Snoop for a feature. He's still around. He hops on anybody's shit. Whatever it is. He does not care. But also, here's the thing. When you think about their content and their character, whenever would Tupac, if he was alive, team up with Drake?
He wouldn't have.
Why would you, as
Tupac would have hit
this Canadian pop star, you think you as a Canadian pop star deserve to put Tupac's voice on your track without any type of permission and beyond the grave to diss the biggest West Coast rapper that we've had since him?
Pac would have hit Drake with the same shit he hit Biggie with. That's why I fuck your bitch, you BBL motherfucker. Telling you. Damn, where's Pac? They should AI Pac's voice on the fucking Metro beat. Yeah, no, it's just I don't care for TaylorMade at all. I didn't care for it at all. I don't like it.
Just the point that he did it, and also it opened. Here's the thing: as we're gonna keep going along with this beef, things get personal. You know, Kendrick says a lot of shit, and it almost feels like Drake does nothing but confirm everything that Kendrick says about him. Because a big thing that comes in later, which I'll get more in depth with later, is that he says, Drake, you're not a part of the culture. You're a colonizer. You
Which
don't belong
is not
here.
he's not the first person to say it. You know, Rick Ross has one of the best covers for any of the diss stuff that happened. Did you see he had the champagne, and it's a white man as Drake? It's fucking hilarious. Kendrick's not the first one to say this. No, everybody's been saying it
because he says it later, and he does, and he has specific lines to reference it and everything. But he's like, the fact that you took Pac's voice out of the grave shows what I'm telling you right now. Like, you have no respect for the culture.
And he tells him, he goes, did you think the label was going to let you disrespect Pac? Because Drake tries to then say that Kendrick, the reason the song got pulled is because Kendrick cried to Tupac's estate, blah, blah, blah. And Kendrick fires back with, did you think the label was going to let you disrespect Pac? That, no, it's not had nothing to do with me. Pac's a legend. He is a pillar of hip-hop. You know, he ain't doing that.
Yeah, there's also a line that later on, I forget which song it is, but apparently Drake also is crying to, like, I forget what the thing is, like, for defamation on Like That or something like that. He was apparently trying to bitch to get a lawsuit for Like That, which Kendrick pulls in because of that line from Drake. But all right, so TaylorMade, it sucks. That's just all you need to know about it. It's not up anymore. They had to pull it. I think Snoop Dogg said some shit. He didn't like it either. He was like, fuck that. Like, that was pussy shit. But now, so that was Drake's response to the original Like That, which I think was soft. Now, from that point on, we get like a week and a half. We're waiting, like, oh, what's Kendrick gonna do? What's Kenny gonna do? What's he gonna do? And he drops Euphoria. Now, upon my first listen of Euphoria, I was a little disappointed. Because on the episode that you'll never hear because it'll never come out, I said that when you come for Kendrick has to come out swinging because there is a different standard for Kendrick Lamar. He is known as the best in this game amongst fans and among his peers. So when you come out, you better come out with the best. Euphoria wasn't it was a good diss. It was fine. Like, it was cool.
But and I think what it is too is that, like, Push-Ups is kind of, like you said, it's just a standard diss, and Euphoria is nothing crazy. But I think what Euphoria really is, if you go back and listen,
it's a warning shot.
It's a warning shot. Like, you don't want this.
In the beginning of it, oh my god, fuck, why am I not the lines guy? I wish I had your memory. The beat starts out really slow on Euphoria. I'm just gonna describe it because I'm terrible with this.
And it changes 3 times too. Like, it is a dope diss track.
Yeah, you know, it's pretty good. It doesn't go into anything too personal, but he's basically like, you know, he starts off, it's real slow, it's melodic, and then he goes into just a hard diss. The line, the guy's gonna make me go on fucking Rap Genius. I hate this shit. He just basically like, I was trying to, like, keep this just like industry. Like, this was just supposed to be friendly competition or something like that. But, like, you mentioned my family, now I got to come after you or whatever. Something like this within that realm. And then he starts going off, but it's not to that crazy level. He does call out Drake's son. He basically says, like, a lot of the shit you do is whack. You know, like, he goes in on him a bit, but we're not at the level of which this peaked. Now, again, my first inception of Euphoria, I'm like, it's fine. You know, it's not what I expected from Kendrick. I expect more from him. Like,
but he's got some good lines on that. Like, headshot for the year, you better walk around like Daft Punk. Like, he's got some lines in there that I'm like, okay.
Yeah. No, he's got bars in there. Again, I wish I was the lines guy like you are. But here's my thing with it. Kendrick almost strategically played this perfectly. Like, he came out with a good track. He called it a warning shot. This is what this is. You said something about me. I'm gonna say something about you, but here's the thing: don't tell lies about me, and I won't tell truths about you. That's
Yeah,
where
no,
the switch is on the song. I remember that at the perfect time, so I didn't look like an idiot.
And that is the warning shot.
That's the switch. And so he's like, I'm gonna say shit because you said shit, but don't tell lies about me like I see you doing right now, and I won't tell truths about you. And
which is
that's
crazy.
after hearing everything. When you hear everything in order and you look at like the wider landscape of what this beef was, he played this perfectly strategically. He said, "This is a warning. Stop, because I'm gonna come in. It's a warning shot." Now, almost directly after, Kendrick puts out 616 in LA. 616 in LA. That is a little deeper.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little harder. It's not as good
cool.
of a. It's not as good of as a jam track. Like it didn't get as much attention as Euphoria did.
No,
because the
like,
Euphoria was hype, but it's a barrage. Now Drake has to respond. You have 2 tracks. No matter what Kenny said, no matter what he said, you got to put something out because he just released 2 in a matter of a day. Say something, because even though he said he warned you not to respond, now he gave you 2. You gotta respond. That's how I said. Kenny kind of
strategic. It was strategic.
Like he is barraging him with this. So now
don't do it. But now if you don't, you a bitch because I put out 2 songs.
100%. So now we have Family Matters,
which I think is Drake's best diss track in this whole thing.
I believe it's his best. My first inception, and I still kind of stick with this point. Drake has to stop trying to make some kind of hit record when this dude just threw 2 tracks at you. Like you
it's
have
a diss track. It's not supposed to be a radio
chorus. You have 3 beat changes. You start off being melodic, like you are singing cringily into the mic.
Everybody still. And you can't fight a war on multiple fronts. Fuck it, that's the art of war. You can't.
Here's the thing. Right, I just want to draw this back to a different thing that I love that a lot of people hate. I think it gets too much hate. Eminem on Kamikaze throws shots at everybody because everybody was throwing shots at him on Revival. Now, after you take shots at the entire industry, there's a lot of people that want to respond. When you're Eminem, a lot of people don't like to because they don't want to die. But there's a decent amount of people that did.
Yeah, and made a diss track.
Well, all of Kamikaze was a diss track.
No, after Kill Shot.
Yeah, but he makes Kill Shot because when you are that big, you have to realize that when 10 people call me out my name, I have to realize who's worth my time because I am giving these people the platform.
He says it in Kill Shot. I'm giving you more of a platform than you've ever had by just saying your name.
I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. Yeah, like I had to give you a career to. That's not the exact line, but like,
I had to give you a career to end it. Yeah. 100.
So he realizes because MGK made a full track and he did all this thing. He's like, all right, you're worth my time. This one track, that's what you're gonna get to put people in their place. But there was so many people still saying little things. He's like, you're not worth it. The best thing I can do is not respond to you. That's what Drake has to do, because no matter how big Future is, no matter how big Metro is, no matter how big Rick Ross is, they are not Drake. They are not worth your time. When they're putting out little snippets and jokes and stuff like that, don't pay attention to it. You have Kendrick Lamar down your sights, and you're going to try to focus on other people.
And I felt this way. I felt like he was taking a shot then at Cole, because Cole pulled the track at this point. And
he does have a line towards Cole and Family Matters.
And he has a line towards it. And I will say that Drake does have one line in Family Matters that I think is funny. Is you're right. Fuck the big 3. It's just Big D, and there's video evidence to prove it. Like, that's funny, and that's, you know what? I'll give Drake his props for that line. That line's cool. No, it was all over. He
has some good lines. I don't like that formula for a diss track. When you are singing melodies, cringely, I might add, he needs some auto-tune, cringely, singing melodies in the first verse, doing 2 other beat switches, having a chorus, stop. Just make a diss track. Just diss the dude. He's coming for you. He had good lines. He had a great beat on that third selection. His third beat selection should have been his selection throughout the whole thing. That shit would have been fire. He has some good hits, but I can't take you seriously when this dude is calling you out for being a poser punk from Toronto, stealing culture, and you come out looking like a poser punk from Toronto that's stealing culture. Like, you are confirming everything this motherfucker's saying about you. But this is when Drake makes it personal. Drake talks about his wife. Drake talks about his kids. Drake is taking shots at Kendrick, and the internet's going crazy. How can you respond to this? Drake's killing him. It's over. Fucking Drake dick riders like your boy AJ. Call out AJ right now.
Listen, there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people. But I will say this: even other Jordan, Xavier, like they were listening, and you know, Xavier hits me with like, nah, like when Drake first came out, nah, Drake, blah blah blah.
Oh, who? Pretty Thug? Tell motherfucker shut up. Tell Pretty Thug shut up.
When all of this was going on, he's like, nah, y'all tripping. But especially after Euphoria, it was still like kind of, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I thought the battle was open. Like that wasn't
Family Matters comes out, and like,
you could come back from Euphoria.
Correct. Family Matters does it. There are some lines on there, and it gets very personal, right? But then Kendrick does something insane. About 20 minutes after Family Matters comes out, he drops a fucking diss track, and not a short one, a 6-minute fucking diss track. Right? Am I right timeline wise?
Yeah, I mean, I think Drake dropped. I'm looking at this right now. It says Family Matters dropped on May 3rd, but it says Meet the Grams dropped on May 4th. But I think Meet the Grams was like early as shit, and I think Family Matters was late as fuck.
It was about 20 minutes later. He dropped a track called Meet the Grams, and everybody said, nah. There's no coming back from it. And I'll tell you what, beautifully the way that this song is like choreographed, the way it goes out through, right? He's basically penning letters, which we've seen Kendrick do this type of thing before. He did it on To Pimp a Butterfly with the letter to Pac, right? Yep. Which also makes that whole thing with him using Pac's voice even more disrespectful because like Kendrick has done this whole conversation with Pac. Mm-hmm. He's penning a letter to Adonis, then to Drake's mom, then to Drake's dad, then to an unknown daughter that Drake hasn't announced that he has, that he's denying. And then to just Drake himself. And what's crazy in that first part too is even like when he's talking to Adonis and he's like, your daddy's a bitch, blah, 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 and I'm sorry that, you know, all this shit. He ends that first part to Adonis with, you're not going to understand a lot of this, just play it back when you're 18. Right? And he also hits him with, which is super, this is like one of the, I'm sorry, I don't know the line off the top of my head, but he basically tells him that like, I could be a better mentor to you than your dad is a father.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And here's the thing. So Drake had a couple lines in Family Matters that brought in family, that talked about, you know, Kendrick saying he's a wife beater or whatever, spreading things that have been nothing but not confirmed. Now, the big thing that kind of brought a lot of attention on this beef is that both sides are saying you lied. Mm-hmm. They're like, you're lying about me, you're lying about me, this ain't da-da-da-da, like none of this has happened, both of them are saying you lied. Then comes the rumors, I planted that information in your camp.
and that comes after, because in Meet the Grams, he hits him with, you got a daughter out there that you're denying and you haven't told anybody about, but we know the truth. And a lot of people are saying, go ahead.
So there are people coming out now saying that, yo, that's true. But when it first came out, they're like, nah, we fed that to your camp.
Well, Drake said that. Drake said, I told my people to feed that information to you. It's fake. You can't even tell what's true, blah, blah,
blah. Here's the thing. I call bullshit.
I call bullshit, too.
And I call bullshit for a number of reasons. Why? You would rather him tell the entire world something awful about you just so that maybe a quarter of those people that heard it might hear that you said that you planted it, so it's false information. Now in the mind of everybody, it's real.
The other thing is too.
Believable.
It's believable because he's done it before. He
You
lied
were
about
hiding
it.
Your son before
and why
Pusha
did
T outed you.
Pusha T outed him. Let's not forget that Pusha T buried him. Okay, so he has this entire thing. Oh, I fed you that information. There's an article of a lady that's from 9 years ago that said she had a daughter by Drake who was 2 at the time, 9 years ago. That makes her 11. That adds up with that article's 9 years old. Lines up with what Kendrick's saying. Yeah. Now we fed you that information. What, you go back in time and feed him the information too? That don't make sense. The math ain't mathin'.
That's where I think in this beef it gets real personal. He's talking to his son. He says, "Yo, I'll let you speak in a second. I'll let you go. I'll let you go in." Which, this is the most disrespectful thing you can do from the point of view of somebody that has a child now. You talked to my kid to tell them how much of a piece of shit I am. That's ultimate disrespect. Yeah. He is talking to his son to say, you don't got no role models. He's doing your mom dirty. Don't ever treat a woman like he treats women, because I know you see it. Like, he is going in to his son saying, I can teach you better than he can. Then he goes he goes to his mom, says, yo, like, I love you. You're great. You're an amazing woman, but you raised a piece of shit. Like, he's doing a disservice to all the women, all the girls. Like,
and this is how he's treating women. Yeah. And then about on his dad.
Then he starts talking to his dad. My God. He's also like, it gets a lot of just attention that on the next song, we already know he calls Drake a pedophile. He's already calling him a pedophile in this song. People just didn't bring attention.
No, because he doesn't say it outright. It's more like he infers it. Like it's
yeah.
It's well, not,
no, he's like, your son. He's like, your son should die. He does shit with young girls. Like, he literally does actually, in reality, call him a pedophile. He just double downs on it really hard on the next one, which we'll get to.
Yeah, which is nuts. And
then talks to the secret daughter. Dude, like, nuts. Here's the thing, though.
Nuts.
When Kendrick calls Drake a liar, it's because we know nothing about Kendrick. Could Kendrick have maybe beat his wife? Could his child not be his? I don't know. I don't know the motherfucker personally.
Yeah.
But he does a good job of making sure we do not know him personally.
Right.
The fight is
we
unfair.
Know Drake. Yeah.
Yeah. We know Drake, and the things that he's saying sound believable. You were having Instagram DM conversations with Millie Bobby Brown saying that,
and it was weird. It was weird. It was weird. And
you hang out with like 14-year-old pop stars. Like, we know this. Like, we know all of this to be true. You had a son that was outed in a rap beef. Now he's saying you have another child.
And there was I can't remember her name. There's another female rapper that she said something like, nah, y'all are tripping, leave him alone, leave Drake alone. I can't remember who said it. But she basically said, like, y'all are crazy, blah. Most of y'all don't even realize that 17 and even 16 is legal in most states. And it's like, that's not the right fucking take to have here, bitch. Like, what are we talking about? What are you talking about? That's crazy. There is a separate federal legal age. Like, and even still, you think that's okay?
No, it's not. It's not.
So it's absolutely insane. And I'll tell you what, in Meet the Grams, the line that really gets me though is after he talks to the daughter, right? Mm-hmm. He hits, before he finishes out that song with his verse directly to Drake, he's like, Meet the Grams. And it was like a chill down my spine. I was like, ooh, I was at the cookout and I met the family and I don't like it. I don't like it. And then in that final verse, he basically hits him with, you steal from the culture. You go to Atlanta every time. Let me break it down for you.
That's the thing. Yep.
And he breaks it down with, you go there to get the baby to give you, street cred and all this shit, blah, blah, blah. And like all of these people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, yeah, that's what you're doing. You're appropriating the culture to sell it to you.
You know what I feel is valid about this? And I can't take all responsibility for this take. I was listening to Flagrant 2, which is Andrew Schultz's podcast. They had a hip-hop, I forget his name. There's a DJ. He's really big on the scene. He does a lot of people's drops and stuff like that, streams their music, everything like that. He had him on, and they're talking about the beef on Flagrant 2. And they're saying Drake puts a lot of people on.
Mm-hmm.
Drake gives a lot of people their first number one. Drake says he gave Kendrick his first number one.
Well, Drake, and if you want to go back and you can look at it, Drake took Kendrick and A$AP Rocky on their first tour. Drake did give The Weeknd his big shot, you know?
He does a lot of shit that seems like great for people's careers, right? So you could think that there would be a lot of people backing him up. Why is there nobody on his side?
You can't see me, but I'm shaking my head no viciously.
Why did the guy that started the career for half of the game not backing him up? Everybody is still against him or silent. And it's either because what Kendrick is saying is right, or after he put you on, he fucked you over.
Sound like Diddy.
Which I don't want to just get to this comparison of that Drake is Diddy, because while we are saying that this shit is probably true, it is still rumored, and there's a lot of crazy shit with Diddy that is not in the realm of Drake. But you get what we're saying is that this guy, why does he have no friends in the industry?
Diddy, outside of what Diddy is, like what he's in the news for right now, right? It's a known fact that look at Mace. Mace was one of the greatest rappers at the time, right? And now he don't rap no more. Why? Because Diddy fucked him over. He stopped rapping a long fucking time ago. Diddy only cared about himself. His brand was him, and making Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Diddy Dirty Money, the most money, and the most well-known name. He didn't give a fuck about anybody else on the label.
Yeah. Also, the rumors have been going around that Drake goes around fucking everybody's girl. And that he says it constantly in songs. Always saying, I fucked your bitch. Everybody. To everybody.
Doesn't Drake say to him, doesn't Kendrick say to him, you fucked Wayne's girl while he was in jail, and then got his face tattooed as an apology? Like, come on, dude. What are you doing? That's the dude who put you on.
Yeah.
So and you want to talk about somebody from the culture.
He's saying he's a snake. He's saying that you rob culture. He's saying that you do all this, that, and that. And I think if it wasn't true, somebody would come to his defense, and no one has.
None.
Meet the Grams, to me, is a knockout punch. To me, you are not going to respond with a better track than Meet the Grams. He hits you, lay down. Now 20 hours later.
Kicks you.
Here's the thing, though. You can respond to Meet the Grams. I think as the knockout punch, I don't think you are going to have a response better. But you can respond to it because of the type of song that it is, because of how slow it is, how melodic it is, the way that he is being so introspective with the things that he says. You will not get the attention that you deserve for that track. It is the best track out of everything in this whole beef.
Well,
it's the best one.
It is the best track, but it's not my favorite.
I know, but that's what I'm going to get to.
Yeah.
It's the best one.
Yeah.
Lyrically, what he does, what happened, it is the best one. It is the most disrespectful. Yep. Everything about it is insane. But you're not going to get the traction on a track like that. So Kendrick, the same day, drops Not Like Us.
And let me just say, too, he drops this track because Drake had said earlier on in the beef that you can't make a radio hit. I make radio hits. You don't do that. You can't do that. And K-Dot took it and said, bet, watch. Let me say I've been bumping this shit like I'm at the club. Not Like Us is insane. It's so upbeat. The tempo is high. And he is not holding anything back. And I know my favorite line in the song. Do you have a favorite line in the song? Is your favorite line my favorite line? Do we have the same favorite line?
Is it going to be everybody's favorite line?
I think it's everybody's favorite line. The end of that first part of that, he hits with the trying to strike a chord, and it might be A minor, is insane. A minor. And he holds it. He holds that. I don't even want to do it.
I don't know if you know anything with music theory and all that stuff. He's doing it in the actual key.
He's doing it he's doing it all.
He's actually doing it
as well. He's doing it in A minor. It's insane. No, but you know what the thing is with that too? It goes to show too the difference between the level of Drake is a pop star. Okay.
Yeah. Which also part of his attack, Drake's attack so far has been calling Kendrick a pop star because he made a song with T Swift and
he's not,
and Maroon 5. But I'm like, you are not the person to be talking about this.
You are literally a pop star.
The pop star.
You are the pop star. Kendrick is a musician, right? He makes music. Like, it's not like, does that make you get what I'm saying? Trying to say here, like, he's not just making a hit song. He's not just making a song. It's deeper than that for him. He's got an understanding of it on a deeper level than most people do. He drops the line. He's calling him a pedophile. You are a pedophile, he says, flat out. Trying to strike a chord, and it might be
pedophile.
Certified pedophile, trying to strike a chord, and it might be A minor, and the whole song is done in A minor. It doesn't get more fucking deep than that. Yeah. On a genius level.
Here's the thing. The song is surface. Like, there is crazy things that he says within and without. You know, calling him a colonizer, calling him a pedophile. The whole thing is about him being a pedophile. It's like, that is the overarching thing. He made a club banger about pedophilia.
That's people insane. Are bumping it.
It's bumping it.
And you know what the thing is, too? It's the end of that song. That's also one of my favorite parts. It's the OV-ho. That is
it is hype.
Best
it's hype.
Fucking part. It's hype. It's hype.
It's hype.
And now that's what people are saying about your label, your brand. That's what people are bumping to on social media right now. Yeah. Done. You shouldn't be responding. You can't respond.
Which we'll get into in a sec. He does respond. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But I know you do also. You got a stat for us on this.
So
go ahead. Yeah, you got it. You got that.
It's insane. It's not like us. It has debuted number 1 at the Hot 100 with only 5 days of tracking. It is the fastest song. It hit 1 million units sold in just 12 days, which is the fastest any song has hit that milestone so far this year in 2024. 1 million units sold in 12 days, beating out Taylor Swift and Ariana Grande. Both had music this year. Taylor dropped an entire album, and Kendrick's one song, 1 million units. Not Like Us has also surpassed 100 million streams on Spotify in under 9 days, making it the fastest rap song to do so on the service. The song that it beat out, which it just couldn't be more poetic justice than this, is God's Plan by Drake. Couldn't be more poetic than that. He's beating out records right now with the diss track he put out, and the records he's breaking are the guy he's dissing.
And Drake said, you ain't never had a number 1.
He does now.
A feature. You never had a number 1 without a feature. Now he does.
Now he does, and it's the diss to you. Oh, I fucking...
Again, the strategic of this, again, you can't... Meet the Grams was something you can't beat. Not Like Us is something you can't respond to. That's the difference.
And he tried.
And he did, which we'll get into now. Drake then, let me look at my timeline here, a day later, comes out with The Heart Part 6. Now, what I do like about this one is that is the most traditional diss track that he has done so far within this. He sticks to this topic. He stays on a person. He's not being melodic. He goes at his target. Kudos to you for figuring it out after it's too late.
Yeah.
Good job.
And I will say, like, even the title is like a diss in itself, because it's the heart. For those that don't know, the Heart Part 1, 2, 3. Those are all Kendrick's like running thing. So it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, he has some decent lines, right? He has some decent lines in that in the song, but he's almost trying to play it off like he won, and that, and he just didn't. Like, it's, to me, just don't respond. Make a press release. Put out a number 1 hit. People will forget about it. You put out another track. You lost, and the entire track is basically saying that shit was whack.
This is the track.
You're a liar.
This is the track where he calls him a liar, where he tells him, like, we fed you that information. Nah, brah. Nah, that ain't it. And he does things that are weird to me, right? Kendrick calls him a pedophile.
My God.
Kendrick flat out says you're a pedophile, blah, 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 all this shit. And instead of saying, I'm not a pedophile, I don't fuck with kids, he comes back with, I never did nothing with Millie Bobby Brown. Ain't nobody say her name.
Millie Bobby Brown. That's the first time her name came up.
And
we didn't bring Millie in this. You did.
And I get that everybody on social media is saying it, and they've been saying it for years when he was in her DMs. We already said that. It was weird then. It's still weird now. but Kendrick didn't say it. You shouldn't be responding to the people on social media. But also, that's not the line that you think it is. I never did know with Millie Bobby Brown. Ain't nobody bring her up. It sounds like a guilty conscience. It sounds like OJ. It sounds like OJ saying, I didn't do it, but if I did, I would have did it like this. Sounds like you did it.
Yeah. It's like one of those trick things where you'd be like, you know, like, what? What did you say about Millie? Let me
what
go
do you mean
back.
by that?
Did I hear
what
Millie before?
That?
I'm pressing rewind. I never heard nothing about Millie. I heard the internet talking about Millie, but you're not responding to the internet. You're responding to Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick's flat out calling you a pedophile across multiple boards, apparently, in many different fashions. You just brought up Millie Bobby Brown. I don't know, but it's sus.
Yeah, I had...
And in the time that we're in, because there's another line that he tries to defend himself. Also, your diss track shouldn't be you defending yourself. You have to shoot back. All you do is shoot back. You discredit and shoot back. He's literally like, almost like, no, stop. No, it's not real. No.
Stop not me.
It's a lie. Don't you think if I was fucking with kids, I'd be in jail? I'm too famous for this shit? That's not the exact line.
That's not what you think it is. That's not what you know. And I'll tell you what. Weinstein, Me Too movement. Look at all of it.
In the time that we're in, which not all these are kids or whatever, stuff like that. But when you look at Weinstein, Diddy, Cosby, Kelly, when you are looking at these guys, do you think you are more famous or bigger than all of these individuals?
Right.
Maybe on a minuscule scale by a little bit, depending on which one you're talking about. They have gone for years and years, decades upon
doing what they did
of doing this shit. And your justification is that I'm too famous to fuck with kids?
I'm too famous to not get caught. It's not that line isn't doing what you think it is at all.
No, it makes you look sus. It's like, what is it?
Looks bad. Looks bad.
That is I got black friends. That's that argument. Like, that's the same thing. Like, it's like, you're making yourself look worse. And I'm not racist. I got melanin in my friend group. No, that's not how that works. That's not the argument you make. That makes you look so bad.
It looks terrible. And it's 100% Kendrick does not need to respond to this.
He doesn't.
It's done. It's dead. It's over. And even everybody that's listened to it has said, you're not. He dropped a song that disrespected you, your family, called you out, gave us all this new information, and then he made a club banger about you fucking with kids. It's done. It's done, bro. And there's a couple lines too that I don't like in even in I think it's in Family Matters actually that I don't like. He has these couple lines about Michael that Drake has, and I don't like it because it's disrespectful. Don't talk about Michael like that. First and foremost, you're making music in a genre that you are a pop star, and Michael's the king of pop. Don't do that. It's like you're doing these things, and you're doing like it's the same thing with Pac. You want to be a rapper, but you're disrespecting one of the pillars of rap. You don't. What are you doing? You're trying to tear down the foundation to build yourself up? That's crazy. Or to try and tear somebody else down? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. So
it makes him look awful. I think everything that... All right, so you brought this up to me off call. You had a quote from a GOAT, from an amazing person in the industry. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you got it pulled up.
I do have it pulled up.
Questlove.
For those that don't know, Questlove being part of the Roots, which is one of the greatest fucking hip-hop groups to ever exist. The Roots don't have a bad album. But Questlove said this, and I agree partially and I don't. But nobody won the war. This wasn't about skill. This was a wrestling match. This was a wrestling match level mudslinging and takedown by any means necessary. Women and children, in actual facts, be damned. Same audience wanting blood will soon put up RIP posts like they weren't part of the problem. Hip-hop is truly dead. I don't agree with Questlove saying hip-hop is dead. But I do understand what he's saying with this grew beyond a normal beef. This went far beyond, in a sense of, it did, and I know you could go back and find other beefs that do get personal, right? But not on the level of you're a pedophile. You know what I mean? Like this reached a point where it was like, this is serious. That's a serious thing. Because at the end of the day, it is. It's a very serious thing to accuse somebody of and to say. Mm-hmm. It's not just, you do get diss tracks where people like, oh, you know, your daughter, your son, that, your family, whatever. You know what I mean? But it does reach a point where it's like, this is serious shit that you guys are throwing at each other. Even so, I do get what Questlove is saying, but hip hop's not dead. If anything, Kendrick got a #1 song. Hip hop is far from dead, baby. This is
what I think. I think it's complete. I think the entire statement is completely wrong. I think the entire statement is completely wrong when he says, you know, just that hip hop's dead. This isn't what it's about. Like, you go back, this isn't it. Like, people died in reality back in the day. This isn't anything new. If anything, it's a resurgence back to the old days. What do you mean it's dead?
But it's still tame. It's still tame.
This is what made hip hop popular. I can almost guarantee Drake nor Kendrick are dying. They're Kendrick's
Drake
from Compton, but
Aubrey ain't turning into Jimmy again. So like, it's not that serious. But I will say this.
But here's the thing.
To your point from earlier, what Questlove does say is the same audience wanting blood will soon put up RIP posts like they weren't part of the problem. The media did play a big part of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. But,
you know,
and also, I disagree that, because one, you're right, it's a serious allegation to call somebody a pedophile. Everybody believes it. Nothing's going to happen from it unless there's some kind of evidence about it, because he's still Drake, and I guarantee you the next time he releases a song that's not related to Kendrick, it's going to do just fine.
I'm sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But we believe it for a reason.
Correct.
We believe it for a reason. Because it's grounded in something, whether true or not, by the technical legal definition of the law, this is grounded in some kind of evidence that we've all thought about for years. And when you say that there's no winner, Questlove, I don't agree with you with that, because I think one criticism that you could make over Kendrick Lamar's career is that he's not battle tested. All of the greats, or most of the greats, this new generation, it's a little different, but they have at some point been tested. Win or lose, you've been tested. Jay was tested. Nas was tested. Biggie was tested. Pac was tested. M was tested. Drake's battle tested. Whether, you know, he beat Meek but lost to Pusha, he's been in the shit. For a reason, Kendrick has never been fucked with. And there's a reason Kendrick's never been fucked with, for the same reason that after Ja Rule, nobody fucked with M until after he put out an album that was trash. And people saw their opportunity to jump because they thought the GOAT was washed up.
Right.
And they thought he couldn't do nothing about it because he's old and he's sober.
Right.
No disrespect. That's my boy.
No disrespect. And M proved that.
But then he shot
just
back.
Because I've grown and I've changed don't mean I still can't go back and be the same dude y'all want me to be. And he did.
So again, nobody fucked with M for so long, whether they liked him or they didn't, because he showed, you don't want to fuck with me. Kendrick, without even ever having to step in a beef, proved, you don't want to fuck with me. I'm the last motherfucker you want to try. But the thing that you could always say was that he's never been tested. How would he do? I don't know. He won. He won against what people would call the greatest in the industry today. And I don't think it was close.
Yep.
Kendrick
I don't think so either.
Like, in the moral victory of this all, there is a winner. And I think it's Kendrick Lamar. Because if anything, he got a #1 hit out of this. He came battle tested and showed, you really don't want to fuck with me. Like, and nobody believes anything Drake said about him. True or not, I don't know. But no one believes it or remembers it. So there is a winner in this. It's Kendrick Lamar.
Yep. Yeah, and it's insane. It's insane. I just K-Dot Kenny. Kung Fu Kenny.
Yep.
Kendrick Lamar won this beef in my opinion, and I've had people accuse me like, you're just jumping ship. Now, if anybody that knows me personally knows I haven't listened to Drake in since like his first couple albums. Maybe Take Care was the last album I really like bumped. Like by the time Views came out, I wasn't bumping Drake. I didn't care for it. And I love hip hop. I've grown up on hip hop. It's why we're having this conversation. I love talking about it. I love listening to it. And you know, my pushback when somebody told me like, "Oh, you're just like everybody else. You jump and ship to Kendrick just because of."
I was never on the ship.
But I was never on that ship, and I've been bumping Kendrick for years. I've been bumping Cole. I love Cole. Cole's my shit. Some of my favorite. I love Logic. I love Childish Gambino. And you can turn around and say that like, and again, I've been listening to these artists for so long. The Incredible True Story is one of my favorite albums. I have it on vinyl. Because the Internet is great. Camp is great. One of my favorite Cole albums to this day is still Born Sinner, just because I love the replayability of it. And you can say whatever you want. That album's corny. Your favorite artists are corny. But the one thing you can not say about my favorite artists is they haven't been accused of being a pedophile. So like, I don't give a fuck. I don't. Like it.
Here's my thing at this point. Let's just say this as it is. Your boy AJ spits some bullshit.
He spits some bullshit, and he's not alone. And he's not alone. There are a ton of people that are on that boat. There are a ton of people that are gonna just defend Drake because of who he is. He's big, whatever.
But I don't like, because I know, you know, people will say that some of our favorite artists are kind of corny. And I can understand maybe where we're coming from a little bit, because it's not where rap is truly rooted in the topics that they always talk about. It's not the subject matter that everybody wants to hear, but it is the reality for people, and people like it. Me, specifically. When Gambino talks about comic books and makes nerdy references that are fire, by the way, lyrical ability, like his double entendre and his work with words is amazing. It's top notch out there. I understand it because I know his references, because me and him have a similar mindset and a like and a style and stuff like that. But when you say maybe that stuff is corny because they have things outside of pussy, money, weed to talk about, and they have messages to push and things to say,
and that's one of the things that I love.
I think it's corny that your favorite rapper made a remix of "I'm Too Sexy for My Shirt," walks around with a heart shaved in his head, and got a BBL. To me, Drake, who played a wheelchair kid on Degrassi, who is from Toronto, Canada, and sings heartbreak songs to girls and is a pop star, when you call my boys, the people that I like, corny, I think your boy the definition of corny. I think there is nothing cornier than what this dude does.
I think on that note of like, you're absolutely right. And it's me, I listen to a lot of Logic, and Logic raps about shit that I understand and I love on a different level. Of talks about Tarantino movies. He's rapping about, you know, movies that I love and anime and all this other shit. And it's like, yeah, I get that. That's me. And that's, yeah, okay, it's nerd culture. Now being nerdy is cool, right? It's big.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand. Also, so like Jay has a line back on I think it's DOA, right? If you a gangster, this is how you prove it to me. I don't be in the project hallways talking about how I be in the projects all day. That sounds stupid to me. If you a gangster, this is how you prove it to me. That's the type of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to sit there and listen to you be like rapping up pussy, money, weed all day. Like, I don't care. That's not.
And there's no disrespect to that style, because we're talking about certain people that we like to listen to, some of the people that we like, but that's not, to me, I think there's a way to do things to where it's fun and it's cool, and there's a way that I want to listen to it. Drake being on a pop beat, which also, this isn't me being a hater, because I probably stopped listening to Drake after Scorpion, so I listened to his shit for a long time, but the contents of which we're talking about, Rocky does that all the time. Wayne does it all the time. Well, like, a lot of the rappers that we like still do it. Cole does it on a lot of tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't mind it.
The trap genre now, but there is a ability that they have that we appreciate, which is the reason that they do it. Like, you will not spit a metaphor like Lil Wayne. You will not have such a banger like ASAP when he gets in his bag. Like there are certain things that these guys do that
and that's the thing.
that content
Every
worth
rapper
listening
is
to.
different. Everybody raps about something different. Like Outkast is a whole different feel and vibe and everything. I listen to, Run the Jewels, RTJ is the shit, and they're not rapping about that shit. They're more like the Roots. They're rapping about the world and like what's going on in the world and the culture and stuff like that. And that's the type of stuff I like, right? I love because that's what hip hop is. That's what hip hop has always been. It's always been political. It's always been about that shit. And at the end of the day, too, I know we talked about like, this beef not being like nobody's getting shot or whatever. And I don't want that. I don't want somebody to get hurt. I'm glad we're not in the days where people are getting killed over little things like a rap beef. It's one of the reasons why I do love Logic. Peace, love, and positivity. At the end of the day, again, I said it at the top of this. Kendrick's line what was the first one? Future and Metro. What was the song?
Gus?
Yeah. It should have been taken as competitive.
Like that, not like us.
Like that, yeah.
Not like us.
It should have been just a competitive line. It should have been something that was, this is just a competition. Yeah, fuck the big three, it's just big me. That's just, okay, that's it. You hit back with something, but here we are. And Kendrick won, so it don't matter.
Yeah. The shit got crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's a lot going on in here. I think it's over. You might see a jab or two from either one of these guys on future projects.
Yeah, but I think it's done.
Pretty sure Kenny actually has an album that's rumored to be coming out later this year, maybe next year, somewhere in that realm. So you're definitely gonna hear from him. Drake drops like twice a year. I'm sure you'll hear from him soon. Mm-hmm. And it's what he needs. He needs to do what he does. He needs to drop a banger. People forget about it. His career will live on. There's no disrespect to Drake. You got to respect what he did for the game at the end of it. No matter what I win or loss, whether I listen to him in this day and age or not, Drake's done some incredible things for the industry. It's why it's like rap is the leading charting thing in the world across all industries. It's Drake.
Yeah.
Yep. But now it's all gonna move forward. There's some crazy shit. Apparently, a hell of people are getting into beef. We might have to talk more about hip hop. I hope you guys like our hip hop conversations because again, there's a bunch of people that are coming at each other's throat now. It's becoming a time we might have more to talk about. And more diddler jokes can be made at any time.
I think
my favorite thing to do.
I think again, this is my favorite stuff to talk about. I mean, we talk about movies all the time, and I love movies. I've been watching movies my whole life. I have such a deep appreciation for them. I've been reading comics, and you have. We've been doing this since we were kids, and listening to hip hop. That's what our parents grew up with. That's what we listened to. And our music taste has evolved over the years. You know what I mean? It's not the only thing we listen to, but I'd sit there and I would bump Eminem. I'd bump Encore while reading a Spider-Man comic. You know what I mean? Like, you can do both at the same time. Like, that was what I did. So, like, this is my favorite shit to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we got into movies at a decent age in our lives. I mean, everybody's always into movies, but a passion.
Yeah, no, it became, yeah.
It became a thing, but that was later on. The things that we would talk about, the things that these conversations stemmed from originally was music. And the music that we grew up on because of our parents and all the things, it was hip hop.
It was hip hop. And you know what? It was we'd have the same arguments. It would be, who's the best rapper? Who would be better on this? Nah, this person's better. But it's the same conversations we'd have of what superhero could beat the other superhero in a fight, because you only ever see him fight the villains.
Yeah.
Could Hulk really beat Superman? Like, I've had that conversation a million times.
Yeah. Who's the better rapper? And hero death battles is the OG of the conversations we had here. That was kind of how it all starts. So we love talking about it, and because we've become the movie guys over the course of this podcast, remember that it is still the depths of pop culture. We have a lot to say on the music space as well. So I hope you guys like this because we love talking about it. But like going into this, we were hyped to get onto this episode. So we hope you liked it. Give us your comments. Comment your favorite line. Tell us what was your favorite line out of this whole beef. Tell us what you thought. Who do you think actually won? Let us get into a debate about it. Let me know your takes. And let us know if you want to hear more hip hop from the Beer and
I want to hear too. as we get more of like your favorite line from these beats, because I know what it is. Everybody knows what it is. I already know.
A minor.
Like if that's your favorite line, we'll bump it. Like let me know. I'll just play it in the background next time. But we did spend a lot of time on the first, good chunk of this episode talking about X-Men, and I want to know who you guys want to see in the next season. Like I want to know what characters people are excited to see, because even though there are a lot of characters in this show, there are so many more that could be given the limelight and given their moment. So I really want to know who people want to see in the next season. If it's anybody that was featured in it as a cameo or somebody else entirely. There's a lot to pull from. So, with that said,
Nuts episode, Nuts TV, Nuts Music. If you want to hear more about it, please come listen on the next episode of the Beer and Skittles podcast. Thank you for listening to this one.
Thank you for tuning in.
And